City Council will meet on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. remotely to hold its regular meeting for the purpose of discussing any and all business pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Salem City Council will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the city's website at salem.com. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the city's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch, listen, or provide comment, if applicable during the meeting, may do so during the following manner. Click on the link to join the Zoom webinar available on the salem.com website, or you can go to zoom.us/join, enter meeting webinar ID 831-1814-6378, followed by the meeting password if directed to do so. By phone, the participants can dial a toll-free number at 877-853-5257 or 888-475-4499. When prompted, enter meeting webinar ID 831-1814-6378 and follow the instructions to join the meeting. For those dialing in, you may press *9 to raise your hand to speak if signed up for public testimony or to participate in the public hearing portion of agenda if applicable. This meeting is live on SATV channel 22. Members of the public wishing to speak on the agenda must follow the how to sign up for public testimony outline agenda. If wishing to speak during public hearings designated on the agenda, you may raise your hand. A regular meeting of the City Council is being held remotely on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice of this meeting was posted on April 20th, 2021 at 10:08 a.m. This meeting is being taped and is live on SATV. Councilors absent, none. Council President Madore presided. Councilor Posniewski moved to dispense with the reading of the record of the previous meeting. All those in favor? We see 11 hands. All those opposed, saying none, the matter carries. President Madore requests that everyone please rise to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilor Hapworth.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public testimony. We have 12 members of the public who have either signed up or emailed us with testimony to be read aloud. I will allow about a minute each for public testimony. I'm going to go down the list and call on members who have signed up, and Madam City Clerk will unmute you to allow you to speak. First, we have Patricia Gonzeba.
Okay. Pat, I unmuted you. If you can unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. I'm Pat Gazemba, and I live at 17 Sutton Avenue, Salem. And I'm here tonight to say that I stand in strong support of the accessory dwelling unit proposal that is before you. And I want to emphasize that this proposal gives us, as a city, an opportunity to increase our options of affordable housing and to offer longtime residents of the city who are aging opportunities to remain in our homes. The ADU proposal also sends a signal to our fellow residents that we are doing whatever we can to make it possible for you to remain in Salem. It would make me feel very proud to be able to brag to others that in Salem, we cared enough to pass the accessory dwelling unit. Thank you.
For taking the time to come out to testify. Really appreciate it. Next, we have John Boris. Madam Clerk, you're muted, but I see John raise his hand.
Yeah, John, are you under something else? Okay, there you are, John. All right, I'm going to allow you to speak. If you can unmute yourself, John, and state your name and address for the record, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I am John Boris. I live at 5 Bedford Street in Salem, Mass. And I'm speaking as part of, I'm with the Salem Housing Authority for many, many years, probably longer than many who have been alive. It's approaching 60 years. And I'm speaking in reference to the elderly waiting list. I want to point that out to you folks. And the mayor's proposal is something that should pass for this and many other reasons. And we have a list of somewhere, I'm just read my figures here, 4,000 plus applicants, and the average wait is it's 1 to 3 years if they're a Salem resident, and up to 3 years starting if they're not a Salem resident. And we have, like I say, 4,131 applicants waiting. And this would help us, and the mayor's bill would certainly help the whole city, and I strongly support it. And thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you, Mr. Boris. We really appreciate you coming out to testify tonight. Next, we have Edward Orozco.
Edward, could you please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes. Hi there. My name is Edward Orozco. I live at 5 Aborn Street in Salem, located in Ward 4. So I am here to speak in support of ADUs, similar to the first point. So I might be repeating a bit of information that's already been shared, but I just believe that would allow a lot of affordable housing to be implemented in the city of Salem. I've had a lot of friends. I grew up in Salem, Massachusetts. I've had a lot of friends have to leave Salem just because of not having access to affordable housing here. Luckily I have my mother who lives in Salem, so I was able to move back home after the pandemic hit in Boston, save some money on rent. But while just looking for affordable housing options in Salem, it's just something that's been very difficult for myself, and just very disheartening seeing a lot of my friends just leaving the city because it's not affordable. I'd also like to add that there's a ton of evidence out there that just proves that this type of thing works. It can be done right. It just needs, the approval by our city councilors, and, just the effort put into, having this initiative being taken in the city. So there are a lot of advantages, and it would just be great to see, just different types of opportunities here for, folks who grew up here be able to, move back home from college, or, just see themselves sustaining a life in Salem. So thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Orozco, for taking the time to come out tonight. We greatly appreciate it. Next, we have Steve Kapantis.
Steve, if you can unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Steve Kapantis, 23A Wisteria Street. It is apparent that there is a rush to get blue bikes in place, and it is moving so fast that this body is willing to allow a $545,000 expense on 50 bikes in 8 bike racks before anyone can review the contract. That's quite an expense with very little in return. Yes, we're receiving a $200,000 grant, $70,000 sponsorship. However, that leaves the residents of Salem footing another $275,000 over 3 years. And what do we get in return? Quite frankly, exactly what we get in return is not known, because that will be defined by the 4 corners of the contract, which has not been made available to the public or this body. I ask that you send this back to committee so the contract may be presented and reviewed by the residents before you'd agree to spend $545,000 on a bike program. Thank you.
It was perfect time. Thank you, Mr. Kapantis, for coming out to testify. We really appreciate it. Next, we have Rosa Ordaz.
Rosa, if you can unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Rosa Ordaz. My address is 13 Forest Avenue. And I know I have spoken in favor of ADUs in a couple of city council meetings, so thank you for allowing me the opportunity to do so again. I just wanted to express how excited I am to see this on the agenda tonight. I won't recite a lot of the data that I'm sure you have spent a lot of time reviewing, but I do want to support this ordinance as an increase to our housing stock in a less environmentally intrusive manner. I think these ADUs are an affordable way to offer options to single and otherwise people that do not have options when looking for housing. They are affordable naturally due to their size. An average one bedroom in March of this year in Salem was over $1,800. And with the limit of $1,347 through this ordinance, although it's not affordable to everyone, it is still lower than market rate would demand from renters. And I don't really see why offering diversity in this way would be a negative. I think there's a misconception about this ordinance being focused as a solution to offer more elderly housing. And while that is a group that can definitely benefit when looking to downsize or supplement their income, it's important to remember it also helps couples without children or students and people working lower wage jobs. It's an option for some, not a requirement. Homeowners who have underutilized space. And it's important to remember that homeowners who don't want them don't have to build them. And those that choose to do so probably want them to look nice. It's on their property and to match the characteristics of their neighborhoods. So I know this is not a solution to our housing crisis, but I think it's an important tool and a step in the right direction. So I hope that you vote in favor of this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Ordaz, for taking the time to come out to testify tonight. Next, we have Judith Riley, who sent in her testimony that I will read aloud. Judith Riley from 20 West Ave. I support the Affordable Accessory Dwelling Unit Ordinance and ask for the council to pass it. Thank you. Short and sweet. Next, we have Felipe Zamberlini.
Felipe, if you can unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, councilors. Felipe Zamberlini, 62 Perkins Street, Unit 3, Salem. I'm in support of this ordinance. However, I just want to state that as a matter of transparency, there was just an OLOA committee conversation to move this forward, and there's no time for anybody in the committee to review it. We always complain to the state that this is an untransparent process, and here we are in Salem having an untransparent process. So y'all need to fix this. This is not okay. As for a policy, I just want to remind this committee that 3 years and 3 months ago, in January 2018, we had a whole conversation of this as well, and we passed an extremely restrictive ordinance, and it only created 12 ADUs. If you make this policy also restrictive, we're looking at being here again, July 2024, having another conversation about this all over again. To that end, I want to really make sure that this council understands that this needs to be broad, this needs to be open. We need to have new construction of ADUs. We need to have detached ADUs, and we need to have new construction of detached ADUs. You know, oftentimes when people complain about new constructions and detached ADUs, there's always this concern of, oh, what about the character of the neighborhood? And so to them, I would ask, what do you mean by character? Do you mean the style? Do you mean the construction, how it looks like? Well, think about a few of the units that have been recently redeveloped in Salem, like 121 North Street. It's a single family that doesn't look like anything in that neighborhood. Or 116 and 106 Bridge Street, which is a multifamily that looks exactly like their neighborhood. And so we have the ability to deal with design. So don't worry about design if you're concerned about new construction and design. That's a foolish worry. Now, if you're worried about character, as we meaning the property will no longer look like a single family, well, let me remind you that single family zoning is a historically well-known racist exclusionary tactic that was created in the 1900s, early 1900s in California, and it was promoted by developers who included racial clauses to prevent Black and brown people from owning in those neighborhoods. Now, I don't have the time to give you a whole history on redlining and the racist history of our R1 zoning style system, but I would like to encourage you that if you're really concerned about the character of the home not meeting the zoning character, to be mindful to not unintentionally continue to promulgate policies that are based on originally racist zoning systems that were created over a century ago, and to protect zoning laws instead of protecting people and their housing needs. So I hope that you move this idea forward.
You wrap up your testimony, please. You've exceeded the 1 minute.
I just finished.
Time.
I just finished, Councilman Derry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Zambolini, for taking the time. Next, we have Ms. Caroline Watson-Felt.
Caroline, if you're on the computer under something else, could you please raise your hand? I don't see you. Thank you. That's what I thought. Okay, I'm going to allow you to speak, and you can unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
Thanks, City Clerk. Hi, it's Caroline Watson-Felt, 2 Beacon Street. I'm calling in tonight as president of Historic Salem, Inc. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of the demolition delay ordinance under review this evening. Historic Salem submitted a letter to the council on this, but we'd like to highlight a few important points. First, I'd like to express our personal thanks to Patty Kelleher and Tom Daniel for the planning department, with whom we've been working on this for over 18 months. We're really pleased with the ordinance as submitted to you. It contains 2 urgent changes. They are that the length of the demolition delay period be extended and that the definition of demolition be expanded to include removal of 50% or more of the building. We also have some additional recommendations, which are supported by the Historical Commission, that we think will help make implementation of this ordinance more successful. They are 2 substantive additions that I'd like to highlight tonight. One, that they consider an additional tier of protection by increasing the demolition delay period to 18 months for buildings of 100 years or older, and 2, added additional clarity to the definition of demolition. To conclude, among the many benefits, we'd like to reinforce that this is good for the city because it maintains housing diversity by protecting our small homes in the market's low to moderate price range, which are key to a balanced market, keeping the scale, massing, and style of our historic neighborhoods intact. And it promotes the protection and reuse of existing building materials that still have use, keeping old growth and handcrafted materials out of landfills. We thank you for your careful consideration. We hope you'll that you'll each support recommending this to the to the committee on ordinances, licenses, and legal affairs as the next step in its review process. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Watson-Felt, for taking the time to come out. On behalf of Historic Salem, Inc., we appreciate all the work you've done. Next, we have Lori Stewart.
And Laurie, if you're signed on as under another name, could you please raise your hand? Thank you. And if you can unmute yourself and allow, you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Lori Stewart. I live at 7 Barnes Road. I just wanted to tonight state that I am in favor of the ADU ordinance. I've been following the ADU ordinance for quite a while now, and I've recently seen that there's been a lot of misconception and fear about this ordinance. And the entire time that I've been following this ordinance in Salem, I've noticed that every concern has been addressed. We now have an accessory affordable ADU unit, and it will provide more housing, and it will help some people, and I really strongly am in favor of this. Also, I'm a homeowner, and I have no issue whatsoever in my R1 neighborhood if anyone around me wants to build an ADU so they could house someone. I don't understand what all the fear is about, so I strongly am in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart, for coming out to testify. We really appreciate you taking the time. Next, we have Jeff Cohen.
Jeff, if you can unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
Jeff Cohen, 12 Hancock Street. Council President, although I support Salem's participation in the PACE program, the new demolition guidelines, updating the wetlands protections and replacement of the gender-specific pronouns, I am speaking tonight again in support of the ADU zoning ordinance. On April 9th, the sitting councilor was interviewed on SATV and said that knowing this will now pass because only requires 6 votes, so their intent is to make it as protective of our neighborhoods as possible. People who own single-family homes are not the only ones who care about their neighborhoods. I own or occupy my multifamily, have rents below market, and value the sense of community at my property and in my neighborhood. Who do people think we'll rent to, and who should we be protected from? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen, for taking the time to come out. We appreciate it. Next, we have Nicole McLaughlin.
Nicole, if you can unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
Thanks for letting me speak. I'm Nicole McLaughlin, and I live at 4 Roosevelt Road in Salem. And I'm here tonight both as a parent and as the executive director of Plummer Youth Promise, which is down on Winter Island in Salem. So I'm supporting, I want to speak in support of the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. And speaking first as a parent and as a Salem resident. So I'm a third generation Salem resident and my children are fourth generation. We went to Salem schools. We all grew up in Salem. And my oldest daughter's a senior at Salem State right now and works in the hospitality industry in Salem. And I can tell you right now, she's not going to be able to afford an apartment. You know, there's no way. And it, you know, that pains me. It pains me because we stayed in Salem because we love it. As the executive director of Plummer Youth Promise, we have young people out in apartments. We're always looking for one-bedroom apartments. And frankly, Salem is not a community that they can afford to be in, even though they've lived here for years. So that pains me as well. I think diversity is what makes Salem great. Diversity of race, diversity of economics, diversity of housing, diversity of opportunity and businesses. That's what is, that creates the richness in our community, and ADUs will add to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McLaughlin, for coming out to testify tonight. We greatly appreciate you taking the time. And finally, we have Fawaz Abushak.
Fawaz, if you can unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Fawaz Abushak, 4 Harrison Road. I am in support of the ordinance of the ADUs, but I'm here to speak about 2 major changes. They happened at 6:53 tonight. I was hoping Councilor Marcello allows public comments so it could be discussed further, but she didn't, and I really don't know why many councilors are not allowing public comments in their committees. Anyways, the 2 major things that changed that many people probably don't know about it, one was parking. When we ask for parking, we are not inviting cars. Cars are there to stay and they're always going to be there. We're just basically trying not to flood the neighborhoods. Europe is at least 10 years, if not 50 years ahead of us in public transportation, yet more than 70% of families own cars, at least one car. So cars are there, they're always going to be there. And by eliminating the parking plot, we're just basically cluttering the neighborhoods. And I'm not going to go in details because we do not have the time, but we do need some parking restriction to keep our neighborhoods the way they are and our traffic. The second part is who can build the ADU. And they were talking, I don't know if I misunderstood it, but my understanding that you guys allowing, if it's a 3-family home, you get 3 ADUs. Because if it's a condo, if it's condo owned by different people, then each person can get an ADU. And if we are going up to 5 family, if the building is 5 different owners, you have 10 instead of 5. I think this is dangerous. This is not the intention. This is what was designed for. I think it's like they do in many other countries. The person who owns the ground is the person who owns the garden. They own the lawn and they own the ADU. This is how they solved this problem long time ago in many other countries around the world. I don't know why we're trying to reinvent the wheel. I am in a 2-family house. If I make it 2 condos, do I get 2 ADUs?
If you can wrap up your comments, please. Thank you.
Yes, I will wrap. Please reconsider the parking to put it back in there, and please design 1 ADU per whatever you call it, lot, whatever, no matter how many condos are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Abushak, for taking the time to come out tonight to testify. Next, we have hearings. None.
And I'm sorry, Councilor Madore. By the time I took a phone call from Alice Merkel, and by the time I got interrupted before I put her on the sign-up sheet. So could we allow her to speak, please? She did call before 6:30, and it was my error.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Let me do that. Alice Merkel, please go ahead.
Sorry about that. If you can unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Oh, thank you, Eileen. Alice Merkel, 28A Federal Street here in Salem, and I'm speaking in support of the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. With the rents capped at 30% below fair market rate, it does truly create affordable housing. While it's not a solution to our affordable housing crisis, it is a step that we can take, and I hope we take that step tonight. Also, with the restriction in size and it not allowing for new separate ADU structures, it won't bring significant change to our neighborhoods either. So I am hoping we see the council pass the ADU ordinance tonight. Thank you for all your hard work on this, all of you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Merkel, for taking the time to come out tonight. And that concludes public testimony. Anything else? No? Okay. Hearings, none. Appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's appointment of Anna Friedman to the position of City Finance Director Auditor with a term to expire January 31st, 2023.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I move this be held under the rules until the next meeting.
Councilor Hapworth moves that this be held until the next meeting. All those in favor? I see 11 hands. All those opposed? Seeing none, the matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's appointment of Amanda Chiancola to the position of Assistant Planning Director with a term to expire January 31st, 2022.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be held under the rules until the next meeting.
Councilor Hapworth moves that this be held under the rules. All those in favor? I see 11 hands. All opposed? Seeing none, the matter carries. Further appointments.
We have the mayor's appointment of Matt Reno to the Salem Contributory Retirement Board with the term to expire March 24th, 2022.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be held under the rules until the next meeting.
Councilor Hapworth moves that these be held under the rules. All those in favor? 11 hands. All those opposed? Seeing none, the matter carries. Further appointments or further reappointments.
We have the mayor's reappointment of James Shea to the Parks and Recreation Commission with a term to expire May 1st, 2026.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Hapworth moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
I'd just like to thank Mr. Shea for his continued service.
Any further discussion? Councilor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to echo the gratitude that we had to have to Mr. James here. I mean, if we know the history of Salem, we know that that last name is very well known everywhere for the services that they provide. I'm very happy and I'm very honored to be in Park and Recreation and see firsthand the work of James here. And I think that we had to send a gratitude to him that he's willing to continue to serve in that capacity. I just wanted to echo that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Torrio.
Yes.
Councilor Sargent.
Yes.
Councilor Riccardi.
Yes.
Councilor Presnewski.
Yes.
Councilor Mustillo.
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy.
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez.
Yes.
Councilor Dibble.
Yes.
And Councilor Madua.
Yes. On the matter of the reappointment of James Shea, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative. The matter carries. Further reappointments.
We have the mayor's reappointment of Mark Iannuzzi to serve as the constable with a term to expire April 23rd, 2020.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I move this be received and filed.
Councilor Hapworth moves that this be received and filed. All those in favor? See 11 hands. All opposed? Seeing none, the matter carries. Communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $1,135,372 is hereby transferred and appropriated from the stabilization fund to the general fund various accounts listed below to replenish cuts made in the anticipation of COVID-19 cuts.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Terrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. As we all know, and if we so choose, the mayor is in this as well, and we could suspend the rules to allow her to address this better. But as we know, when the budget was created last year, we did so we had a number of furloughs, a number of cuts that were made in anticipation of significantly reduced funding from the state. Well, the state has been able to, as a result of conditions being better than they had feared, they've been able to level fund our local aid, our cherry sheet aid, as we refer to it. And so we are able to make good on a number of these things. One of the things in here, there's a substantial amount of this is to budget cuts and furloughs that were done at the school department. We have a restoration of some of our tree expenditures that were anticipated, and then there's some adjustments in other departments too. Pretty much in all these cases, with the exception of the public services one, these are to restore positions and or hours that were cut and furloughed during the when we expected much lower revenues from the state. So that's the purpose behind this. And then as that money comes in from the state, it will be transferred from free cash to replenish this in the stabilization fund.
Thank you. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Madam President. Quick question for the good Ward 5 councillor. On this restoration of the funds for some of the municipal departments, I believe there might be some funds towards the fire department, and I just want to make sure I'm able to take a vote on this. If you see anything substantial that I should abstain from this vote.
Madam President, if I could, these are not. This does not affect the public safety departments. Those are being handled separately. So, so there's nothing that would affect, I believe, anybody's eligibility to vote in here with unless there was somebody with a connection to the school department. But
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. Can I just get a verification on the amount? It's written out differently than the numbers say, and the backup documentation it does not have the numbers. It has the written out version. So,
Councilor Turriot, would you be able to provide that, or do we have?
I can say I have that both in the agenda and in the backup at 1,135,872. There's a separate transfer to the Water and Sewer Trash Enterprise Fund, and because that's going to a separate fund, that's a separate agenda item. I think Madam City Clerk has a.
No, I think what Councilor Marcillo is referring to is that the wording says 872 and the order says 372. Is that what you're referring
correct.
to, Marcillo?
Correct.
I'm trying to read.
Yeah, it looks that's a typo. It looks like it's in the.
How I received and put it on
Yes.
without doing a quick adding. I would say, I can do a quick addition if you want, if you give us 1 minute.
Sure, not an issue. I think the 372 in the one place is a typo, but.
Okay.
Any discussion while we wait? Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to take a moment. I mean, last year seems so long ago, but it was last year, and we were in the middle of the throes of a pandemic and a lot of unknown. And I want to just, as you look at these numbers, I just want to thank all the various departments and unions that stepped up and were willing to take on a furlough or a cut in order to help us get to a balanced budget moving forward with all the unknowns of not what was going to happen with the state. Obviously, with our assurances and the administration's assurances that if the money was available, we'd restore them. I think this is just good faith restoring the money that we basically told them if we had the money, we would restore it back to them. And I mean, a lot of these departments worked through this last year through all the pandemic protocols and everything that was going on, and they did an admirable job. And I thank them for stepping up then. And this is just a small way of, us saying You stepped up then, and we've got the money now, so we're going to give it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Or Madam City Clerk, are you ready to?
Yeah, it's the 872. So the word is correct and the numbers are wrong. The wording is correct. It's 872.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk.
Any further discussion? Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to suspend the rules to hear from the mayor on this briefly. We're nearing the end of the fiscal year, and this is $1.1 million. I understand the furloughs. There are some other expenses in here, and we're right near the end of the year. And I'm wondering if it makes sense just to keep hold of these savings to not just overburden the taxpayers further.
Thank you, Councilor. I just did my calculation too. It was 872 is the correct one. Councilor Dibble would like to suspend the rules to allow the mayor to address the council. Seeing no objection, Mayor Driscoll.
Yeah, thank you so much. Happy to speak to this. I think, as you may recall, when we adopted the budget, we talked about working with what we had for the best projections at that time, which were anticipating almost a 15% reduction in local aid. And that was the information that was being told to us by state officials at the time. Given the uncertainties of COVID, they weren't sure what they were going to be able to adopt for a budget. There was talk about a federal aid package, but back in June, that was not clear and very uncertain. So we adopted a budget anticipating a $4.9 million reduction in local aid, 14.37%. The good news is throughout the summer and the fall, the state legislature worked hard, and I really want to also recognize Representative Tucker and Senator Lovely, who we were in constant communication about what is likely going to happen. The budget adoption was delayed by the state. It's about 25% of our revenues. So we're obviously tracking what is actually going to happen. When the budget was adopted by the legislature, the final budget was in December. It actually level funded local aid, which meant that we didn't have to rely on the reductions that we incorporated into the budget, the bulk of which that we're requesting was in furloughs that employees, we had negotiated with unions, 3-day furloughs for staff and schools and many of our departments. There were other items that we cut. They're much smaller in number. The biggest part of it is the tree plantings, removal, restoring the tree budget. So we had, in anticipation of a nearly 15% reduction in local aid, made some steeper cuts in budget items that we certainly did not want to do. And with the restoration of local aid in December, it put us in a good position to go ahead and essentially have a level of service budget. So these are not increases as much as they are just paying for things that we normally would, and allowing our employees not to have to shortchange our employees or take funding out. We did also fill some vacancies. We did that in December when we adopted the tax rate. You may recall we added funding back for some of the firefighter positions that had remained vacant and public service positions. And we wanted to get a jump on making sure we could get those folks hired and to the academy and with public services be ready for the spring. So I do feel like these resources are necessary. We're certainly planning on robust tree planting if we can do it with these dollars coming in. And my request would be that we adopt it going forward. It is April, and so there is certainly time for us to utilize these resources to tackle some of the items on our list. But most of it is just making sure that employees are made whole this year.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Torrio?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Marty?
Yes.
Councilor Presniewski?
Yes.
Councilor Masillo?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Capra?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez?
Yes.
Councilor Dibble?
Yes.
And Councilor Madore?
Yes. On the matter of appropriation of $1,135,872 To the stabilization fund, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative, the matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We've been ordered that the sum of $250,000 is hereby appropriated and transferred from short-term CIP traffic and parking public garage account to install new public bathroom facilities in accordance with the recommendation of the mayor.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Terrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing objection, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I would also move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. This is something that we have learned in the pandemic and in with the closing of the federal restroom facilities, and we've learned that we have a need in the downtown area for more and better bathrooms that are owned by the city and managed and maintained, which is important in this. And if you had read in the documentation, there are provisions in this proposal for ongoing maintenance of these bathrooms, and I think that makes it worthwhile. We've had a tenant in the South Harbor Garage retail space for a number of years. They chose not to renew their lease last year, and the space has been up for proposal, up for RFP for a potential other operator, and this came across as a potential alternate use that satisfies a real need that we have. The plan ultimately is to use split the space into two spaces and to have a function in another function in there for retail and or office space as well as the public bathrooms. The rent on that would ultimately make it revenue neutral approximately, and more importantly than that, it brings a human presence back into the South Harbor Garage. One of the sides that we've seen to automation in the garages, it's worked very well, but we've lost some of the, especially in the South Harbor Garage, we've lost some of the human presence there that makes it frankly a comfortable environment for people, and I think that's been somewhat problematic. So this will bring regular use back to it, and once complete, it'll bring some much needed facilities for people in the who are visitors to the city, and something useful there. And it gives us an opportunity to hopefully get a better and more consistent activation of the space and help keep the rest of town cleaner as well. I know we've gotten a lot of email and messages on this in the last day or so, and I think they pretty much have a point.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd have to agree with the Ward 5 Councilor. Well said. We've been talking about bathrooms for a long time. Back in 3 decades ago, when I worked for the city, I was charged with getting one of the stalls in the marketplace, now called Artist Row, transformed from a typical building into the public bathrooms that exist there right now. So we got it designed, we put it out to bid, hired a local contractor. I think it was Rini Lamar Construction, wound up building it. Then we hired a local company to maintain it. And since then, tens of thousands, I have no idea how many people have used that bathroom in the last 3 decades. But way back 3 decades ago, we talked about building a second one, maybe a third one around the city. This is long overdue, and I will be supporting this in the other measure for both bathrooms here tonight. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Sargent, could you assume the chair, please?
I'm assuming the chair. Calling on the good council president from Ward 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to say offer a very quick comment on this. I think beyond the pandemic, there's already been a need, especially as a parent of young children. When you're going out exploring Salem, you really need to think ahead. And I feel that I can comfortably speak for a lot of parents in Salem when I say that. And then when we have the pandemic that hit the doors of Salem, I think this issue just completely worsened. And sitting on the EDRR for the past year plus, this has been one of the top issues that we discuss on a weekly basis. So I'm really glad to see this move forward tonight. I'll be voting in favor as well. It's sorely needed, and I'm really excited that we will be able to bring in an additional tenant to create a visitor center that will support this service and this amenity as well. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Maduro. And I'll give you the chair back. Have that.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Presnewski,
Yes.
Council Marcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Maduro.
Yes. On the matter of appropriating $250,000 to the Capital Outlay Fund, $2,000 for the purpose of the public, South Harbor Public Garage account to install new bathrooms. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative. The mayor carries. Further communication from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $37,441.46 is hereby appropriated and transferred from short-term CIP engineering water and sewer emergency account to the emergency water repair performed on Loring Ave on October 3rd, 2020.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Terrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. This is one of our after-the-fact approvals, but this was for some significant water work that had to take place on Loring Avenue several months ago, and we're just getting this paid out now, and so it's something I recommend we do.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Presnewski,
Yes.
Council Marcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn, Council Flynn,
Yes.
thank you. Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Maduro.
Yes. On the appropriation of $37,441.46, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none the negative. The mayor carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We in order that the sum of $30,000 is appropriated from free cash to the planning contracted services account to update the local wetlands protection policy.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Terrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. This is, as you know, we've had a lot of discussion about this. We have been working, I'll recognize the Ward 3 councilors' efforts in this regard, working on developing new wetlands policies. And they've gotten a good deal of the way in. I had a conversation with Tom Devine a couple of days ago about this. They are planning to, with this, they are bringing in a outside expert to review all the work that they've done on it, compare it to practices and good practices and standards, and ultimately, and review this as fast as possible so we can get a updated wetlands policy in place that the city council can pass sooner than later. So this is a big part of getting this to us quickly.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to see this go to committee for the simple reason is it's not just $30,000, it's another $10,000 from the Conservation Commission for a total of $40,000 of city monies. And I speak with a little bit of experience in this. I was the conservation administrator for a good number of years. And I think this is something that we could do the lion's share, if not all the work in-house, by looking at what other cities and towns have for their ordinances. Our ordinances way, way outdated, and many cities and towns have already, it's public information that they've already updated by hiring consultants, et cetera. And what will happen, I mean, the wetlands here and the wetlands somewhere else and the wetlands in the next town over, on and on, it's the same rules that we're going to be looking to tackle. So rather than hiring a consultant to come in and just simply copy what another city and town already has and then stick the label of Salem on it. It's not rocket science. I think that we can pretty easily do the lion's share, if not all this in-house, and save the money. So, Madam President, I'd like to see that this go to committee and we have a discussion about this to see if we can truly do this in-house and save $40,000 and, hire another teacher for that money instead. Okay? Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor Dribble moves to refer the matter to the Committee on...
Well, it would be Administration of Finance. It's a money matter.
Councilor Dibble moves to refer the matter to the Committee on Administration and Finance.
Could I co-post it so that any council can speak on it?
I second.
Seconded by Councilor Dominguez. Under discussion. Councilor Marcelo.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few things to start. What we're working on is very specific to Salem. We did go through and review our neighboring towns and cities, as well as statewide, their regulations and ordinances that they've written. And I appreciate that that there's a question about how much this is worth. We're trying to do this to get this out faster. And I really want to underscore that getting the technical help to help us write what we're doing, which in some instances goes beyond what other towns have done, but we need to make sure that we do it legally because we're talking about private property rights here, and we're trying to make sure that we're dancing a line between protection and property rights. And so the whole idea behind this is to get the technical expertise to know what will be legal so that we don't immediately end up in the courts. That's one thing. But also the other part of this is education, and education to the public through public forums, through meetings at SAFE and CERC, to help explain all the details with this work that's being done. This is both the inland wetlands, the coastal wetlands, and the floodplains. So it's very complicated. I can't sit down and give you an overview in 10 minutes even. This is a lot of work, and I think it's 100% worth the $40,000, a quarter of which will be put up by the Conservation Commission. And so I do want to help get people to understand that we're trying to move this forward quickly, and I would hate to see this delayed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Churio.
Thank you, Madam President. And I'll make the point to this that a lot of the times that this city has gotten itself into hot water of various sorts has been when we've decided that we know more than everybody else. We are pretty good at what we do in this city. We're pretty good at coming up with ordinances. We're pretty good at when we concentrate, we're usually pretty good at working on zoning. We have good skills within the city, but there are times when you have to produce the best laws and to produce the best products, you turn to very specific subject matter experts in order to develop a policy, develop an ordinance that's the strongest thing possible. And it takes time to do those, but it also takes expertise. And we have good people in the city. We have good people working in planning. Tom, who's been working this, is excellent, but that's not the only thing he does. That's not his specific single area of expertise. And so in that sense, I would agree with the Ward 3 councilor. We can't just go and look at other cities and then just cut and paste from other cities' policies. We have to make sure we do it right, and we are looking at doing things that are stronger than many other communities, and it's important to do those legally. So I would prefer that we move this through to try and get a policy on the floor of the city council sooner than later. But we can vote and see what the will of the body is. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion on the floor is to refer the matter to committee. Second by Councilor Dominguez. Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief. I know this is my second time talking on this. We had almost 2,000 Salem residents sign a petition last summer asking for the city council to update these ordinances. There's two of them. And to have it done by the end of December 2020, several months ago. I'm the liaison to the Conservation Commission. I thank you for that appointment, Madam President. I think it's right. I understand the conservation laws. The law needs to be updated significantly. It was bad 3 decades ago, and it's still bad today. It hasn't changed. But to say that we need to rush this through when it hasn't gone far at all in months and months and months since last summer, I think it's wrong. The Conservation Commission said last month that they just got it 2 weeks ago. So it's been about 4 or 5 weeks since they got it in their words. So to rush this through, or the need to rush it through, where's it been for 5.5 months? I don't know. So I don't see a need to rush. Perhaps I should have just objected when we're looking to waive the rules, and the money matter should have gone to committee anyway. Perhaps I'll just object in the future. It used to be a time, I know decades ago when I attended many city council meetings, that as the good ward, the at-large councilor likes to say, Councilor Sargent, that if a councilor is requesting something to go to committee, it typically would just go there in accordance with the rules, so we can have a more in-depth conversation about this. I think it could be a substantial waste of money. $40,000 is a lot of money, could be wasted. And I really think, and I've written quite a few ordinances back when I was an employee with the city. We run them by the city solicitor at the time back then, and then we vote. The council would be asked to vote on it. I wasn't a council way back then. And we would strengthen our laws, and we would do a lot of that in-house. I think this one here can be done in-house pretty easily. Because again, I was the conservation administrator for the city. This is not all that technical. I'd like to see the $40,000 be saved, and I'm asking again that we put it into committee.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Oh, Councilor Persniewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand Councilor Dibble's interest in putting it into committee, and I do agree with him, and I think that I agree also with Councilor Wasillo that this isn't something that we should take upon ourselves and think that we're experts at it. The wetlands issues in this city are throughout the city. There's a lot of issues out there right now that are in question, and I think people want to know exactly where they stand now and where they're going to stand in the future. And I also understand that $40,000 is a lot of money. I would like to see this move along quickly, but I would not be objecting to having it go to A&F and having it in council and having it explained so that we can move it along and just get it done. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I will have to disagree. I've been on the committee. I've seen the work that they're trying to do. I understand that in some words, some people may say it's basic. It's not basic. There is a fine line when it becomes almost a matter of a taking when you decide to change the rules on someone's property that they've owned, and with regards to how you do that and how you do that legally. I think it's always better served to have another set of eyes on anything. And in this case, I wholeheartedly agree with the Ward 3 councilor. She has taken up a lot of the work on this, and I've been happy to help her over the last couple meetings on this. There is due diligence. It is moving forward, and I agree with her that I think it's advantageous for us to appropriate the money to allow this to get done, to take the work that is being done, that has been done, because it's not like anyone's been sitting on their hands for the last 5 months. As it was referenced that nothing's been done. I take offense to that because as a member and as a participant, we have been working, and these things aren't as simple or as people want to believe they are. These are complicated issues, and they need to make sure that they're dealt with appropriately. And I think it just makes more sense rather than try to cut and paste from someone else's experience that we make it right for Salem, because that's what we're here to do, is to create an ordinance for Salem. And I understand the desire to send it to committee, but I think that in 2 weeks, we're going to be right back here voting for it because it is what is appropriate, needs to be done. So in that case, I disagree, and I will be voting to not send the matter to committee and appropriating the money to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion is to refer co-posted. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
No.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
No.
Council Prosnewski,
Yes.
Council Morsillo,
No.
Council McCarthy,
No.
Council Hapworth.
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No.
Thank you. Council Flynn,
No.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
No. On the matter on the referral on the referral of appropriation for $30,000 to the Committee on Administration and Finance co-posted, we have 11 councilors voting, 7 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative. The mayor does not carry.
The other way around, Council Madore.
Sorry. 7 in the negative, 4 in the affirmative. The matter is not referred.
Correct.
Okay. On the motion to adopt by a roll call vote.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prosnewski,
Yes.
Council Morsillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On the appropriation of $30,000, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative. The mayor carries. Further communication to the mayor.
It's in order that the sum of $30,000 be appropriated and transferred to the short-term CIP Planning Artist Row account to renovate the public bathroom facilities.
Councilor Torrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Torrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Torrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Torrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. We discussed this briefly in the prior appropriation. This is for a full renovation and reconstruction of the Artist Row bathrooms to bring them up to contemporary standards, and they need it. So they had some minor work done a few years ago, but it's time for a full overhaul. And I will say that the rest of Artist Row has seen quite a bit of positive improvement over the last several years. Between the redoing of the pavement there, the repairs and renovations to several of the stalls, finally bringing Comcast onto Artist Row, which has enabled internet connectivity for a bunch of them and security cameras. So we've made a lot of improvements there, and I think this is just the next step in really turning this into a better destination. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prosnewski,
Yes.
Council Morsillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes, on the appropriation of $30,000 for Artist Row, but bathroom renovation, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative. The matter carries. Further communication of the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $23,200 be appropriated from free cash to increase the police department training and education account to cover the cost of recruit training.
Councilor Torrio.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I'll note that I believe Councilor Prosnewski will be recusing himself on this one. So he just has to turn off his video for a moment. But thank you. So I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Torrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Torrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. Very briefly, this is for getting some of our new recruits into training. As most of us are aware, we've had a lot of retirements in the police department over the last year, some of which were unanticipated, some of which we had budgeted for ahead of time. So we have, I believe it's, let me just check here. Trying to see how many it was. I'd seen it in a previous communication, but we have 6 recruits, and it's a total of 7 recruits that are coming in through this academy to join the police force. That'll help bring them back up to a full complement sooner than later.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Terrio?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Riccardi?
Yes.
Councilor Rosillo?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez?
Yes.
Councilor Dibble?
Yes.
And Councilor Madore?
Yes. On the appropriation of $23,200 for police department training, we have 10 councilors voting, 10 affirmative, 1 recused, none negative. The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
Madam President.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion that we take and move out of order to go to page 12. I noticed on the attendees that Jane Guy is with us tonight, and on the communication from the mayor on page 12 is the city's application for the community, the HUD application for the community development block grants. This is just a vote we have to take in order to allow us to apply for the funds. It has nothing to do with the formula and how it's going to be allocated. It's just for, I know that she's in attendance waiting, and where she's one of our city employees, and other than the clerks who are with us anyway, that she probably will want to get moving on home, or if she's not already home, I know we're on Zoom, but if we could just skip and take care of that, so allow her to leave the meeting, because she has been here for quite a while already.
Sure.
Councilor McCarthy moves to take matters out of order to page 12. Seeing no objection. Councilor Marcillo, or further communications with the mayor.
We've been ordered that the City Council hereby approves the submittal of the City of Salem's application for federal assistance to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for Community Development Block Grant Funds for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Marcillo moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. Good Councilor McCarthy did a lot of the description here. This is just a vote to send in the application. So.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. If you can hear me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I had the privilege of working with Ms. Guy decades ago, and she does a phenomenal job. I'd like to move to suspend the rules to have her just address what that means so we can explain it to the public that are at home listening to this now. And I'll give her 30 seconds to give us an update, because she's been sitting here for an hour listening to us talk. Let's listen to her for 30 seconds. So I move to suspend the rules to allow her to address the council.
Councilor Dibble moves to suspend the rules to allow Ms. Guy to address the council. Seeing no objection. Jane.
Jane, I upgraded you if you want to unmute. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you very much for asking me to speak. And as was stated, this is the annual request that we do. It's sort of administrative. This is to submit our application for federal funding, which is the Community Development Block Grant Funds. A link to the draft action plan, which is also submitted with this application, was sent to you by email. And this just outlines the activities that we'll undertake, including affordable housing, economic development, neighborhood improvements, and support for social services. In addition, we are currently in the middle of the 30-day comment period, so that anyone from the public that would like to speak on the draft plan, the plan is up on the city website. They're welcome to do so, and there will be a public hearing on next Thursday on the 29th via remote participation for anyone that would also like to participate with that. And the public comment period will end on May 10th. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prosnewski,
Yes.
Council Marcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On the matter of a submittal of city's CDBG application, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative, Mayor carries. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we return to the regular portion of the meeting.
Councilor McCarthy moves that we return to the regular order on page 10. Seeing no objection, communications from the mayor.
We've been ordered that the sum of $20,000 is hereby appropriated from free cash to replenish the fire department purchase of services account to upgrade VOC voice alarm dispatch system.
Let the record reflect that Councilor Flynn has recused himself. Councilor Chorio.
Thank you for taking care of that for me, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Chorio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Chorio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Chorio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. This is for taking the voice alarm dispatch system that they use at headquarters, which is currently non-functional, replacing it with an upgraded, newer model, and approximately half of this is being paid by a firefighter grant that they have received. So the actual cost of the system is, the total cost of the system is $40,000. The city is providing 20, and the remainder of it is coming from the Massachusetts Department of Fire Services. So they gave us a firefighter safety equipment grant. So we also are doing some radio upgrades as well in this line item.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prosnewski,
Yes.
Council Marcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
On the appropriation of $20,000 for the fire department, we have 10 councilors voting, 1 recused, none in the negative, the mayor carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We've been ordered that the sum of $15,675 is hereby appropriated and transferred from capital outlay to the short-term CIP DPS facility account to address the fuel canopy collapse at the DPS facility.
Councilor Chorio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Chorio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Chorio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Chorio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll just ask if you guys all saw the photo in our backup documentation of what happened. Basically, the canopy that's over our city fuel pumps, which has the fire suppression system and all, was blown over in a storm, and it's currently wrecked and sitting on its side. So we don't have access to that right now, and so this repair is somewhat urgent to pay for.
Indeed. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prosnewski,
Yes.
Council Marcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On the appropriation of $15,000, $1,575 dollars, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative, none carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We've been ordered that the sum of $12,199.39 be approved within the retirement stabilization account for the buyback of 1 building service department employee.
Councilor Chorio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Council Terrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Council Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. Just briefly, I wish Ms. Murtaugh a happy retirement. She's put in plenty of work here.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Department.
Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move that, well, let me just say that I had the privilege of working with Sally way back. She's worked for the city tirelessly for some 30 odd years or so. Done a great job, always with a smile, and always got things done. I'd like to move that we send her a city seal with a thank you from the City Council for her services.
You're here. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I've had the pleasure of knowing Sally for a long time. My other side of things on my other job is when I go into, you know, back in the day when you'd actually pull building permits in person and stuff. And Sally was a wonderful person in that office. And I was actually kind of surprised when I heard she retired, because we're not in person, and we're not, you know, don't go in there as often because most things you can do online now. I was happy that she retired, sad to see her go. And I wish her all the best.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Terrio.
Yes.
Council Sargent.
Yes.
Council Riccardi.
Yes.
Council Proznuski.
Yes.
Council Marcillo.
Yes.
Council McCarthy.
Yes.
Council Hapworth.
Yes.
Council Flynn.
Yes.
Council Dominguez.
Yes.
Council Dibble.
Yes.
And Council Madore.
Yes. On the appropriation of $12,199.39 to the retirement for Sally Murtaugh, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative, none carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $10,500 is hereby appropriated from stabilization fund to various enterprise funds accounts to replenish cuts made in anticipation of COVID-19.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Terrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the other piece of the restoration that we did, the much larger one that we did at the beginning of this series of financial matters. This is one being handled slightly differently because it goes to restore money that's normally paid to the employees out of the enterprise fund. So it's an accounting issue, but so it goes to the employees who are paid out of the enterprise fund rather than from the general fund.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Terrio.
Yes.
Council Sargent.
Yes.
Council Riccardi.
Yes.
Council Proznuski.
Yes.
Council Marcillo.
Yes.
Council McCarthy.
Yes.
Council Hapworth.
Yes.
Council Flynn.
Yes.
Council Dominguez.
Yes.
Council Dibble.
Yes.
And Council Madore.
Yes. On the appropriation of $10,500, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative, the matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We've been ordered to accept from the Peabody Essex Museum in the amount of $5,000 to support the creation of murals being commissioned by the city's Public Art Commission.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. So I'm grateful to the Peabody Essex Museum for helping this along. Artists are used to not getting paid for their work. And the fact that we're getting some funds to help pay them for the work that they're doing in one of our mural projects is a real public benefit. And it's nice to see people who do this kind of thing be able to get paid for it. And I also want to recognize the PBS Museum, because in the news today, they have a new executive director coming on, and I think it'll be great for helping the museum move back forward and continuing to reconnect to the city.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prosnewski,
Yes.
Council Morcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On acceptance of the donation from Puberty Essex Museum of $5,000, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative. The mayor carries. Thank you to the PEM for their generosity. Before I move on, just wanted to quickly note that I realized we didn't consolidate many of the items since they are not very routine. I just want to thank everyone for their patience on taking all these roll calls. We are on page 12, communications from the mayor.
We have an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to the demolition delay.
Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. Waive the reading of this? Yes?
Waive the reading.
Thank you. I move that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Morcillo moves that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs, co-posted to the Committee of the Whole, under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. So I'm really looking forward to a presentation on this from the Historic Commission and from Historic Salem. I think that there's some really good stuff in here about saving our historic structures in Salem and expanding the definition of that. So I do look forward to inviting any and all of the historic community to come in and join our discussion soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to, echo Councilor Morcillo's comments, thanking Historic Salem for the work they've done here. I think each of us has probably met with Historic Salem over the last 2 years to discuss this issue specifically. I think that just looking at just the pace of change that we've seen in the city, there's potential for a lot of buildings that exist outside of the historic districts to be purchased by a developer and knocked down, and something a little more generic goes up in their place. I think this is great in creating some clarity for builders about what can be built and what that could look like, and then also encouraging builders that may be more interested in preserving a building or may have some more expertise around preservation to actually begin investing in Salem. And I look forward to seeing this in committee. I think there's probably more we can do to just add some clarity to the language, but really appreciate everyone who was a part of this, and in particular Historic Salem.
Thank you. Councilor DeBolt.
Thank you, Madam President. I would have to agree with the two councilors that just spoke. This is who Salem is. This is a good thing that we're about to jump into. I had met with the former chair of the Historic Commission, Jessica Herbert. I want to say 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago. It was long before COVID hit. And there were two other councilors there present with me. I think it was Councilor Dominguez and maybe former Councilor Elaine Milo. I'm not sure who was there. It's been a long time. So I want to say 4 years ago. And Jessica Herbert is a genius, in my opinion, for all things historical and the history in Salem, architecture, on and on. And she deserves some of the credit for bringing this forward to us for our comments on it a long time ago. I'm not sure how it took so long to get to this point, but it's been in the works for a long time. And I will be looking forward to this, and I will be supporting this measure, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Sargent.
Thank you. Just a quick thank you to Historic Salem also. If this had been around when I was a young boy, we might still have a Paramount Theater downtown. Yeah. Remember, as a 10, 11, 12-year-old walking through a lot of piles of rubble downtown to make it to and from the Boys Club down on Central Street. And we lost a lot of historic buildings. Thank God a lot of men and women of their day stepped forward, town elders and town leaders to stop this, led by men like Bill Tinty, to put an end to that, or we would have lost a lot more buildings. So thank you very much.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. Salem back in, 30, 40 years ago had at the time a very progressive and a very forward-thinking law on demolition delay. We had a pretty strong one early on, but I think it's very clear that it needs strengthening. It needs better protections, and I've seen cases and buildings that were where the people doing the work on them barely conformed to the letter of the law and completely violated the spirit of it. So also, as the owner of a house with historic value in a district and the husband of a woman who served on the historical commission for 6 years, I've been very close to all this for a long time, and this has been an area that I've hoped we would strengthen for many years. And I think this is a good start to doing so. And I think I was very happy with what I saw come forward. I'm hoping just that we stick even a little bit more into it. And there's a balance in every city between new construction and old construction, and preserving and reusing older buildings wherever possible. And I'd like to see, I have no fear of growth and I have no fear of new construction where applicable, but I really want us to cherish and use as best as possible our older buildings and that have this historical value. So this is a positive.
Thank you. Councilor Persniewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just don't want to forget Judge Sam Zoll's input into the turnout of this city. It was his, he was the driving force behind stopping urban renewal and stopping the demolition and changing the face of Salem. And I think that he's probably looking down on us with a smile that we're continuing his legacy by preserving the history of this city outside of the historic district. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll. Sorry. On the referral of the ordinance, all those in favor? I see 11 hands. All those opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an ordinance to amend gender-specific nouns and pronouns in the City of Salem's Code of Ordinance.
Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption for first passage by roll call vote.
Councilor Marcello moves for adoption for first passage by roll call vote. Other discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. Long ago, before the pandemic, we had a meeting in Ola last year, taking this up, a more expansive view of it, much more than just the just this one code of ordinance. And it's so past time to update our language in our cities. Documentation, I guess, because it goes beyond just the ordinances too. There's so much that's severe. It's all male-based, and that's fine if you're a guy. It's not so fine if you're a woman reading through it and everything is he and his. It may seem like a minor thing to some people, but it catches me every time I read that just very gender-specific rules and regulations. Women have always lived in Salem, and so I'm not even sure why it was originally written with just men, but be that as it may, it's really late for us to be updating this, so let's approve it tonight and get this going. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Ding.
I just have one thing.
Councilor Sargent.
There's only one thing that I noticed, and it may not be an issue, but I just want to bring it out there, was the term manhole. I only have a little concern because if somebody's, trapped, I worked at the power company and saw films of men trapped and burnt in manholes, and ambulances had to respond to manholes, say 2355. They're all numbered. And hope we don't get confusion where somebody calls for a maintenance hole, which may have a different meaning to responders than a manhole, because there are certain areas where they aren't official manholes. They are actually holes with different kind of covers on them. They aren't round, that are for maintenance. And I just want to put that out there for discussion, that I just hope we don't have a problem with a responder, getting to a certain place because they're looking for a maintenance hole when they're really responding to a manhole, And I'll leave it at that for now.
Councillor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm in agreement with the Ward 3 Council that this is long overdue. We had discussions on this a while ago. I think maybe 6 months before COVID, I'm not sure. And I know that there were a couple of questions that we had on this. So I'm wondering if it might be better, appropriate, if we move for first passage here tonight, but at the same time, we also put it into committee. We have a discussion on that to see if there's any other, just like the manhole discussion just now. I remember, and I don't remember specifically, but I think there were 3 issues that we wanted to correct. And I don't remember what the other 2 are. I can dig them out of my office desk. But I'd like to see this go to committee. We can have a fast discussion on it and then bring it back at our next meeting and for second and final passage. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. I could go along with that if that's what we want to do, but I do want to say that we're not specifying how emergency workers are told to go. Like, we're not giving them new terms to use. This is for our ordinances only. So if it's referred to as a maintenance hole in the ordinance, that doesn't mean that that's going to guide how emergency personnel are called to a scene, I guess. So I don't want to overload with too much thinking on overthinking what we're calling a utility entry, I guess. So, but I'll go along with the first passage and send it to committee.
Any further discussion?
No.
Councillor Sargent, could you assume the chair, please?
I'm assuming the chair, and I'm calling on the good council from Ward 2, Council President Medua.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to offer some comments because I did chair 2 OLA committee meetings that discussed this, and the matter is still in committee. So I'm not sure how we can handle that if both matters go to committee. And I did take very detailed meeting notes for that meeting. So any councilor who need to recall their memory on what was discussed, feel free to look back on the date. I'm happy to send that around. I think the issues, if I recall correctly, was whether the gender, what was it? The pronoun they, a plural pronoun, might cause some confusion around its definition. And we had our city solicitor check with communities that had adopted gender neutral language using plural pronouns and have found no issues in terms of legality. And then the other was the budget. I think we were waiting to get a quote from Unicode, which our Madam City Clerk did do that. And then I don't believe there was a third one. So I would just offer those comments. And I think in the year 2021, if we can conduct almost a year of, well, actually more than a year of council meetings virtually, I think we can take a small step on updating our ordinances. And rather, women have been told to wait for a long time. So I think we need to move this along. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Council Medua. Madam President, please assume the chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? Seeing none on the motion for adoption for first passage by roll call vote, and then wait, did we make a motion to refer? So that would be a separate motion, right?
Yeah.
Madam City Clerk.
If you wanted to amend the motion to adopt and refer, I didn't hear a second on that.
So Councilor Dibble made a motion to adopt for first passage.
I'll second it.
Councilor Sargent seconded that motion. So on that motion, under discussions, seeing none. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Councilor Torrio,
Yes.
Councilor Sargent,
Yes.
Councilor Riccardi,
No.
Councilor Presnowski,
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo,
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth,
Yes.
Councilor Flynn,
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez,
Yes.
Councilor Dibble,
Yes.
and Councilor Madore.
No. On the matter of the ordinance to amend gender-specific nouns and pronouns in City of Salem's Code Ordinance, motion to adopt for first passage and refer to the Committee on Ordinances, License and Legal Affairs, composed of the Committee of the Whole. We have 11 councilors voting, 9 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries.
There were 2 in the negative.
Yeah, did I say that? 2 in the negative? Did I not say that?
No.
Oh, 2. 9 in the affirmative,
9.
2 in the negative. The matter carries.
Unless I heard.
Sorry. She didn't. She said it. Okay. I need some more water. It's so bright now that Eileen changed the light bulb. I feel like I'm in a film set. Okay. Further communications from the mayor, page 20. Waive or Madam Secretary, please read the resolution.
Page 8.
Anyways, I'll let you handle it.
We have a resolution authorizing the City of Salem to participate in the Massachusetts Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy Program, the PACE Massachusetts.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be referred to the Committee on Public Health, Safety, and the Environment.
I apologize. I was supposed to call on Councilor Riccardi on that.
It's okay.
Councilor Riccardi, my apologies.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this is referred to the Public Health, Safety, and Environment Committee, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Riccardi moves that this be referred to the Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Environment, co-posted to the Committee of the Whole. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I'd like to start by saying Happy Earth Day to everyone. I do find it fitting that this is being introduced this evening. We have a few great items on our agenda tonight that really show our commitment as a city to being stewards to the earth. So this property assessed clean energy, PACE, is for commercial buildings, and it's a mechanism to finance energy improvements on commercial and industrial properties in Massachusetts, such as commercial properties, industrial buildings, multifamily buildings with 5 or more units, and buildings owned by nonprofit organizations. The improvements include energy efficient upgrades, renewable energy, and PACE was passed as part of the energy legislation signed by Governor Baker in 2016. And I think because of that, that's why this resolution and agreement needs to be put in place with the city. Individual municipalities need to opt into PACE in order to benefit from the program, and 41 municipalities in Massachusetts have opted in. So I'm looking forward to discussing this in public health, safety, and environment, and learning more about the program and how it can benefit our commercial and multi-unit properties here in Salem.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Sargent, could you assume the chair?
I'm assuming the chair, and I'm calling on the council president, forward to Councilor Madore.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to quickly disclose, given the language of the resolution, that I'm currently not an employee of Mass Development, even though the contract states that the resolution states the contract will be set with Mass Development and the financing component of the pool. I just want to share that I'm not currently employed with Mass Development. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Madore. Council President, please assume the chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Seeing none on the referral to the Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Environment, co-posted to the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? See 11 hands. All those opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have a resolution proclaiming Fair Housing Month in Salem.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. Whereas the Fair Housing Act, enacted on April 11th, 1968, enshrined into federal law the goal of eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination in the United States, and whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, sex, familiar status, national origin, and disability, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. And whereas the City of Salem is committed to the mission and intent of the Fair Housing Act to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all, and whereas our social fabric, economy, health, and environment are all strengthened by ensuring diverse and inclusive communities where all residents are housing secure, and whereas while progress has been made in many respects, more than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, housing discrimination still persists, and far too many neighborhoods and communities remain segregated either by policy or by tradition. And whereas acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunity are inconsistent with our common goals of equity, security, and fairness for all, now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of Salem do hereby declare the month of April for this year and all years henceforth to be Fair Housing Month in the City of Salem, Massachusetts, as a demonstration of our community's commitment to inclusivity and support of equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of our city. And I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Marcillo moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. This resolution serves to remind us as elected officials of the importance and necessity of the Fair Housing Act, and to use this as a vehicle to increase public awareness of everyone's right to equal access to safe, affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Victoria?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Riccardi?
Yes.
Councilor Krasnowski?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Hackworth?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez?
Yes.
Councilor Dibble?
Yes.
And Councilor Madore?
Yes. On the resolution proclaiming Fair Housing Month in Salem, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative. The matter carries. Mayor's informational page, none. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, April 22nd, 2021. City Council order by the request of the Salem Redevelopment Authority that the Committee on Community and Economic Development, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, meet to receive an upgrade from the SRA on the courthouse and Crescent Lot Development project, and that the WIN development team be included in this meeting. And each further order that this meeting take place on Wednesday, May 5th, 2021 at 6 p.m. and I move for adoption.
Councilor Dominguez moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Yes, thank you. Briefly, the SRA reached out to the council requesting this presentation. So we told them that we will put this into the committee so they can come and give their update on this project.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
None.
None. On motion to adopt, all those in favor? Have 11 hands. All opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Further motions, orders, resolutions. Councilor Marcillo.
We have three traffic ordinances. In the year 2021, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic parking prohibited certain times on certain streets. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 51B is hereby amended by repealing the following. Repeal directly in front of number 60 Essex Street for a distance of 40 feet, 30-minute parking, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter. In the year 2021, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic stop sign. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 49, obedience to isolated stop signs is hereby amended by adding the following. Appleton Street, northwesterly bound traffic on Appleton Street at Liberty Hill Avenue. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter. In the year 2021, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic stop sign. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 49, obedience to isolated stop signs is hereby amended by adding the following. Liberty Hill Avenue, northeasterly bound traffic on Liberty Hill Avenue at Appleton Street. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter. And I move for adoption for first passage by roll call vote.
Thank you. Councilor Salem for adoption for first passage by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. I think I'll step back and let the councilors in these two wards take up the discussion.
Councilor McCarty.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be quick. These are new stop signs in relation to the Safe Routes to School Mass DOT project that's going on along Liberty Hill in Appleton, which is just about to come to completion. I actually commented the other day that it was the last actual action I made in actual council chambers. So it's been over a year, but it's very exciting. And this is a much needed four-way stop sign that I think everyone's in favor of. So thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio?
Yes.
Council Sargent?
Yes.
Council Riccardi?
Yes.
Council Prasnewski?
Yes.
Council Marcillo?
Yes.
Council McCarthy?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Flynn?
Yes.
Council Dominguez?
Yes.
Council Dibble?
Yes.
And Council Madore?
Yes. On the three traffic ordinances, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries. Any further motions, orders, or resolutions? Seeing none. Committee reports. Councilor Torrio.
Thank you, Madam President. The Committee on Administration Finance co-posed the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of $50,000 appropriation for the bike share program, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? See 11 hands. All those opposed? Seeing none, the matter carries. On adoption of the recommendation, Councilor Torrio.
Thank you, Madam President. So we had a second meeting on the Blue Bikes program this past Tuesday. We had Blue Bikes in. We had our traffic parking director in to discuss specifics. I'll address a few of the things that have come up as questions. So we had previously, as a city, been paying in our budget money towards the former Zagster program. It did generate a small amount of revenue. The bike share was priced very inexpensively, as is this system. And any revenue that we did get went back into the program. We didn't scoop it into the general fund. We just rolled it right back in and kept it in the operating. So we were spending $30,000 to $40,000 in a typical year on Zagster. It obviously wasn't enough to run the program long-term and make it sustainable, although Zagster owned the equipment, because among other things, Zagster is no longer in business. So this is a regional contract or a regional purchase that we are joining into, something that was set up originally by MAPC in a RFP for the region. So by going into this, there is the text of the specifics of Salem specifics for the program are being finalized. But in general, this will be like the contract that every other community in Blue Bikes is basically using. There are tiny variations from city to city, but the Blue Bikes program, the cost of equipment, the cost of repairs, those are all standardized across all the communities participating in Blue Bikes. I do not remember what the number was. I believe it's a total of 14 communities in the region thus far. Everett is the most recent community to join it, close to the Metro Boston area, and we have other communities around us that will likely be joining it because it's a lot easier to use this than it is to roll your own. In Blue Bikes, something Blue Bikes that is different from how Zagster worked is we are the owners of the equipment. So we actually front the capital purchasing costs of the bike sharing stations, the docks, the spikes. They come as a set, although we can buy individual bicycles. We can buy individual docks if we so choose, but normally they're purchased as a package. The total cost of entry into the program, the capital cost, is approximately $320,000. $200,000 of that is from a state grant. $70,000 is from funds that had been already allocated for the Zagster program from sponsors and from grants from Blue Cross Blue Shield for the North Shore Medical Center, and then the remaining $50,000 is what we're discussing the appropriation of here. The bikes themselves are approximately $1,200 each, purchased in small quantities. In bulk, they're somewhat less expensive. The docking stations can be purchased separately. Initially, we are looking at deploying 8 docks throughout the city. One of them is going to be right across the street from my house, and I believe 50 bikes initially. So we won't have quite as many bikes as we had in the prior Zagster program, and these do have to be returned to docked locations, unlike Zagster. But we anticipate success down the road. We anticipate being able to grow this system and add bikes to it. And also something about the Blue Bike program in other communities is sponsorship has been a fairly strong driver for it. So a lot of the costs that other communities are having in running this are often offset by sponsorship dollars. The bikes themselves are pretty much rolling billboards for sponsors, and it's worked out pretty well. So it's a solid, profitable system that's been managed by the company behind Blue Bikes, which is now owned by Lyft. And a profitable program, frankly, is one that's likely to stick around longer than Zagster did. And I think joining this program will give us opportunities with other communities and let us have a system that should be sustainable in the long haul. And the ultimate decision for us as a body is, we're not looking at bike shares as a profit center for the city. We're looking at it more as a public good. And is it worth providing that public good for our commuters, for residents, for visitors who can pay their way and pay at least some of their cost of using the system? Or do we want people just, walking and biking and that's it? And also one other benefit of this program is no scooters. Because we now know that we tried it and it worked pretty poorly, and we're not doing scooters in this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councilor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. And I think this is a great program. I think it's well needed here in Salem, especially now that we try to make everybody get away from cars. I think this is a great, but however, I think it's a lot of money that is involved in it. And I feel that, as we hear from one of the public attendee, the figure on the amount are high. I think that the recommendation of that person, we should pay attention to bring it to committee in order for us to go deeply and make sure that we are making the right decision based on the numbers that I hear from and that I see. Like I said, I repeat myself, I think it's too much for this program that is needed here, but I think that we need to take a very careful look and make sure that we make the right decision in the right time. So I'm in favor of this, but I wanted to see this in committee. And I like to hear the input from the public and from more in the information that we care about. I know we had a state grant involved. We have Blue Cross. We have also appropriated, and there are one item that I'm really concerned about is the 75 per year, 3 year in a row, which is going to be 225K that we had to take a look at that, and we want to see. And I also want to see, I want to know exactly where is any profit, where is that money going to go be at, and what can be utilized in our community so our community can benefit, not only on the effect that we all bring, and I'm agree with the good work 5 councilor that will bring a benefit that is not attached to money, which I understand that, but also we always continue to create programs where we, as a taxpayer or the taxpayer in general, would like to hear from what would be the benefit in money-wise, so they can put the money where the face are, so they understand that this benefits not go away, and we can alleviate the situation that we have in taxes and any other services that we need in the city of Salem. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Kwasniewski.
Madam Chair, I am in agreement with Councilor Dominguez on this. I was listening to during a public comment to Mr. Steve Kapantis, putting down some figures, and it started to raise quite a few red flags, something that I would like to just have some clarification on. And I think that sending it into committee would probably be the best place where everybody could ask their questions. He put the breakdown basically came down to $545,000, over $500,000 that is going to be invested in blue bikes to give us 50 bikes in the city of Salem. Scratching my head, that does seem like a lot of money for the bikes and their docking stations, and our commitment for 3 years when it ends. What does that leave us with? Does that leave us with functional bikes, or does that leave us with bikes that don't have the technology to be able to be used because Blue Bikes owns it? I don't see a contract. I haven't seen the contract, and I think that's an important part that we should all be viewing before we appropriate that kind of money. Not that we're putting up the 545. I understand we're only putting up $50,000, but the cost is extensive, and I think that just some answers have to be given by the Blue Bikes people. So I would like to see it go into committee also. Thank you.
Councilor Kwasniewski, you've addressed me as Madam Chair 3 times now. If you could address me as Madam President, thank you. And Councilor Churio.
Thank you, Madam President. Most of these questions were addressed in the 2 committee meetings we've already held on the subject. So I would, like to point that out, that we have discussed the costs. We have discussed what happens where and if there is any profit. We've laid out all these things in the prior committee meetings. This has been referred out after 2 committee meetings now. So the first one was incomplete, and so we did not have Blue Bikes themselves in it. We just had our capital projects director in that one, so we carried it over from the last meeting and held it again this one, and we had that meeting this past Tuesday. So in terms of the overall capital cost, I'll address quickly the contracts issue as the first thing. It's extremely rare that the city council actually digs into contracts directly. We're not contract attorneys. Not a single one of us is a contract attorney, or even in this matter, an attorney. We've had attorneys on city council in the past, and although that wasn't necessarily their specialty. We have a city attorney who handles those terms. That's the city solicitor's role to approve contract language. There are occasional times where we need to approve a clause or a step in something, but most of the contracts the city enters into never see the city council, and that's for good reason. It's out of our expertise area, it's out of our knowledge, and there's not many things we can do that won't make them worse. The other thing, speaking to the overall cost, so Zagster cost approximately roughly $40,000 a year in a typical year. That was an end cost to the city that was about what we were spending on it on an annual basis. This product, the Blue Bikes, costs approximately $75,000 a year to run the system. That covers the costs of the Blue Bikes people who run the system, balance the bikes, bring bikes from one location to another when necessary, perform repairs and maintenance, and just generally keep the system working. And it is a more complex system than the Zagster system was, which was entirely app-driven, where the bikes were the source of all the brains and very limited brains. In this case, it's a complete docking system that's that handles actually terminating the rides and connecting the bikes. The bikes are more robust than the bikes we had with Zagster, and it's running that system has a higher cost of operation. One of the reasons it has a higher cost is because, frankly, it's been successful. Zagster was cheaper. Zagster also failed. Blue Bikes has been a sustainable business in the communities that it operates. And in regards of what happens to the profits, there aren't any for us. And that's simply put, if the goal of Lyft, the corporate owner of Blue Bikes, is to make money doing this. And so they are selling the equipment rather than owning it themselves. We are paying out front for it. And this is the appropriation specifically that we're being asked to approve. In order to join into this system, we've been given a grant from the state, and we have leftover sponsorship money from the old Zagster program. So your capital cost of entry to Blue Bikes is $320,000, of which $50,000 we're being asked to appropriate. We then additionally have approximately, as we get this system deployed, we will have an appropriation of in the budget of about $75,000 in a typical year to operate, manage, and maintain the system. So in that sense, it's fairly straightforward. If we want to expand the system and add more bikes or add more docking stations, they have a straightforward contractual cost that is in our documentation. We were provided with this by the city. We have this in our email. And it has the cost for quantity purchases. It has the cost for individual purchases. So we know what we're getting into if we do these things. As for the long-term viability of Blue Bikes, the contract that they are in is managed by MAPC. They are in currently a 10-year term. The terms of renewal will align with our own city contract separately. Should we choose to leave the system and somehow decide that we have a better way of doing bike sharing once again, we're not completely out of options at that point. We always would have the option of taking our equipment and selling it at some markdown to another community that is remaining in Blue Bikes. Should Blue Bikes fail and should the company go out, there will be some company that takes over those assets and takes over the intellectual property that they have and has the ability to operate the system, because it's a system that does make money for people. So there is an incentive to keep that running. Either which way, the real basic question here is, do we want to provide a bike share as a convenience to our citizens and to our visitors? If we do, basically, this is the only way forward. We don't have another competitive bike sharing company even in this region anymore. Zagster was doing it, and a couple of years ago, there were a ton of companies that would come in and drop a lot of bicycles on your street and advertise heavily on social media to get people to use them. And those companies have all failed because their business models just weren't sustainable. But Blue Bikes has continued with their simpler and more technologically savvy system. So, we can go without, and we can try and hold out hope for somebody to invent a better way of doing it, reinvent the bicycle, or we can do what all the other communities in our region that do bike share are doing. And, I, for one, would like to see this move forward. We've already been 2 weeks and we've been 4 weeks since it was first introduced and 2 committee meetings. So I would like to see this move forward tonight.
Councilor Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. I did support sending this to committee last time this was in front of us. And just to, I guess, repeat what Councilor Turriel said is, this was in committee meetings twice. Blue Bikes did join and answer basically all of these questions, except for the question that keeps getting repeated is what's our return on investment? And really our return on investment is we're going to have an infrastructure service available for residents and tourists alike that we know is needed. We have actual data that shows that a bike share in the city is used by the residents. Personally, I think we're not asking for enough bikes. We had a lot more bikes when we had Zagster. So we know that the use is going to be there. We know that this is the need for the city. We know that residents want this service. It shouldn't be a return on investment. It should be a service we should be able to provide for our residents. And spring is coming. The snow is gone. People are back on their bikes. The bike lanes are popping back up. So I think it's time to get moving on this and get the bikes ready. It's springtime. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief. The Ward 2 councilor, the Ward 5 councilor clearly wants us. He's spoken on this twice here tonight. But I have to disagree with them. We're not attorneys, and I agree, we're not attorneys, but we are city councilors. We're elected by the public, and we're trying to do our job, looking out for the monies that we spend on things. On this one, I don't think we could even, I couldn't dream to make this one up. We're being asked to invest $545,000 as a start over the next 3 years. And more if we're going to buy more bicycles, and more if we're going to go beyond 3 years at $75,000 a year, to give all that money, well over $500,000, give that money to a private company and let them run a bicycle rental program in Salem where they keep all the profit. I'm at a loss at why are we even entertaining this? This is a gigantic expense on the taxpayers of Salem, and we get no profit out of this. I voted and supported the Zagster program. I think the bike share program is a good program. The Zagster program, I think, was $20,000 or $30,000. I'd have to look it up to see what that was. And many companies did go away during COVID. Zagster was one of them. They couldn't survive. Washing the bikes, the handles, on and on. It wasn't. They weren't able to survive COVID. And I don't know the reasons. I don't know the Zagster company. But to do this, not at $20,000, but at $540, well over $500,000 is ludicrous. The idea of the bike rental program, I absolutely love it. I think it's a good program. But we don't know what the true cost of this is. Right now we only know it's $500,000, over $500,000. What is it going to be when we add more bikes? We don't know because we haven't seen the contract. On and on. It's going to be substantially more than $500,000 that were given to a private company. The $75,000 a year, that wasn't discussed. That's an administration fee that we're going to pay them. We're going to pay, the city of Salem is going to pay Blue Bikes $75,000 per year to run a company where they keep all the profit. That's just another thing that's going to go on every year. We won't be able to reuse these bikes at all, as was talked about in committee, because of the technology on them. Zagster owns the technology. They own the controls on them. They own, the bikes will be useless if we try to go with any other company because no other company will use Blue Bikes bikes. So we can't reuse the bikes, but we're going to buy more bikes at some point in the future. We all know that 50 is not enough to service the city of Salem. So we're going to buy a whole lot more bikes. So add that on. Maybe we're up to $750,000. Maybe we're up to $1 million. We don't know. It's our job to protect the monies of the city of Salem. We need to see what the contract is so we can vote on it intelligently. And perhaps after I read the contract, I might vote in favor of this. But right now I have to vote against this because it's $545,000. And again, no profit on the sale or the rental of these bikes coming back to the city of Salem. That was not the case with Zagster. Perhaps $1, the first dollar on every rental should come back to the city of Salem until this $500,000 donation to this private company is paid back. And again, Madam President, I'm trying to be as short as possible, but this is a lot of money leaving our hands, going to a private company with so many questions. I move that this go back to committee, that the contract come to committee, and we review the contract, make any changes to this, and then we bring it back immediately for consideration.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I would suggest you go read the contract we asked to see. We asked to see the most recent contract from the city of Everett. Did you read it?
Councilor McCarthy.
Question.
Me from.
Am I muted?
No, I don't know if that's a rhetorical question or you're.
No, I was. It's not. It's. Did anyone? I mean, I flipped through it. This is. You have to understand. You have to follow the money, so to speak, if you want to use those terms. This started with a state funding. They approved the programs. They set up the RFP. They're the ones who contracted with Blue Bikes. That's how where we are. That's where it is. The contract with Everett spells out everything you've just asked, and nowhere in the contract with Everett does it say anything with they get any proceeds from it. It's the same. I would venture to guess, because we asked to see the most recent contract. If you went back to contracts with the city of Boston, whoever else has them, they're all coming through the Metropolitan Planning Council. They're all coming back the same way. It's a standard contract, and I will say when you look at a contract signed by the city who enters an agreement, the city council does not enter into a contract with anybody. It's authorized by the mayor, the purchasing agent, right? Purchase agent, and then in this case, it would probably go Mr. Kaczowski and or somebody in the planning department would authorize it, as well as someone who would authorize the fact that the funds are available. These are the way the contracts work. I mean, I do agree it's a lot of money, but it's also, I think it serves a greater public good, and I will be supporting it.
Councilor Hepworth.
Thank you, Madam President. As somebody who's not an attorney, but somebody who does work in contracts, it's unlikely that, first of all, this is relatively standard language in here, and it's unlikely that a company like Blue Bikes or Lyft is going to customize a contract for a city like Salem. They put themselves at risk for lawsuits from other communities that have had this same boilerplate language in their contracts. There's potential there could be some amendments to the contract, but it's standard language that we expect to see across communities like Cambridge, Newton, Salem. So I think that looking at the contract, I think that that's not necessarily a role for the city council to play here. I don't think we're likely to see any customization come back from Lyft. And then we keep throwing around this $500,000 number. I just want to remind folks who are listening, this is what, $270,000 or $200,000 in grant money that can be used for nothing else, and then I think $70,000 in sponsorship money, and then $50,000 that the city of Salem is putting up here. Thank you.
Councilor Dominguez.
What was the question?
Thank you, Madam President, and I understand all the gallery and all of the comments that we have here from. But I think my question is, what is the rush? If we have to spend that amount of money, what is the rush to pass it? Can we inform better the public, inform everyone, and discuss it deeply, and make sure that we have everybody on board, and make sure that this is based on a very good intention for everyone, and not keep a yes for a few who understand what's going on. There is a motion on the table that I believe that the good council of Ward 7, Debo, just put it in. I want to second that motion, and let's actually move forward. But I think we own an explanation for the general public. We was elected to represent the people of Salem, And the least we can do is to inform the best we can. 1, 2, 3, 4, as many as we can. And I think that for the a good intention and for the comments that we hear from one of the members of the public, there is information there that is not clear that we need to clarify, and we need to, and I think that we deserve, I mean, the public deserve a better explanation, and we need to go back to committee, make sure that we fix everything we need to fix, and then bring it back and then vote. I don't think that we need to rush. That's one thing. The other thing, I think that doing this to the new normal right now, pandemic, changed the whole dynamic on businesses. I don't think that maybe the consumer that those companies was expecting to have, they're going to be in here. So why rush when we don't want to have maybe the general public using the bike at this moment when we can wait and make it better? So let's make a better product. Let's bring something better. I say from the beginning, I think this is a great program. I support it, but I wanted to hear more. I wanted to make sure that we really understand why that big amount of money is being spent and why we have to just bring it and finish the product right now when we can wait. So once again, I second the good Ward 7 Councilor motion to send it to committee.
Councilor Dibble moves to refer the matter back to Committee on Administration and Finance, second by Councilor Dominguez. Under discussion, Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a little frustrating because this has been in front of the ANF and it was posted with the Committee of the Whole. And if you did not go to the meeting, then you did not learn the information. And I'm not sure how bouncing it back into committee is going to change that. The representatives from Blue Bike were here. They answered all questions. They went through the entire program. They sent a sample contract from Everett. They listened to the concerns of the people that were at the meeting and were there to do the job. This is a little bit frustrating for me. I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Councilor Brzezinski.
Thank you, Madam President. It's come to the point now that we're at a council meeting and we have being held accountable. Our feet are being held to the fire by the people who elected us. And you can put it any way that you want, but when you come down to brass tacks, it's over $500,000 that we're spending to put 50 bikes out there for a bike sharing program, which I agree with. I think the city was doing well when Zaxter was operating, and it was a good program. Blue Bikes comes in, and this is a whole new game. And I'm sorry, and maybe I didn't attend all the meetings, and I would have had more questions during those meetings. But I think my questions now are what the public is also raising and what they're wondering. Why are we spending so much money to a company that's the only company in town, which makes them a monopoly, which makes it they're the only people that we can do business with, and we're going to be buying bicycles and paying people to ride those bicycles. We, the taxpayers, are going to be paying people to ride the bikes. It just seems like there should be more answers, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Flynn.
Thank you, Council President. Can we move the question? We seem to be going back and forth on the same thing.
Councilor Flynn requesting the question. The motion on the floor is to refer the matter back to committee. Should take a roll call on that. Madam Clerk, are you still there? Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Torrio?
No.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Riccardi? No. Councilor Presnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
No.
Councilor McCarthy?
No.
Councilor Hapworth?
No.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez?
Yes.
Councilor Dibble?
Yes.
And Councilor Madore?
Motion to refer the matter back to committee. We have 11 councilors voting. 5 in affirmative, 6 in the negative. The matter does not carry. Get that right? On motion to adopt the recommendation. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Torrio,
Yes.
Counselor Sargent,
No.
Counselor Riccardi,
Yes.
Counselor Kwasniewski,
No.
Counselor Morsillo,
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Hapworth,
Yes.
Counselor Flynn,
No.
Counselor Dominguez,
No.
Counselor Dibble,
No.
and Counselor Madore.
Yes. Adoption of recommendation to appropriate $50,000 for the Blue Bikes Share Program. We have 11 counselors voting, 6 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative. The matter carries. Further committee reports. Counselor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and City Council, April 22nd, 2021. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of zoning ordinance amendment relative to ADUs with attached dwelling, has considered said matter and would recommend approval for first passage by roll call vote.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? See 11 hands. As opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Adoption of the recommendation, Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. So we've had 2 meetings in OLA. Last Thursday we met, and the first thing we did was we had a discussion to decide which way to go on the 2 ordinances that were before us. This one that we're speaking about right now is the original ADU ordinance that was submitted that does not allow new detached structures. So I want to make that clear. The one that we're talking about does not allow new detached structures. And so then once we got through that and developed a consensus on which way to go, we had a really good discussion, went through line by line, basically through the ordinance, and took the suggestions from the planning board and worked them in and chose the ones that we wanted. And we came up with what's before us tonight. We had a clean copy sent out yesterday to everyone on the council, and then tonight we made a couple of minor changes just to support the removal of any parking requirements, and then the other one was just to tighten up the language around allowing an ADU in the example of a row house where you have multiple separately owned buildings, basically, or homes on one lot. So I want to thank everyone. This was a really good discussion. It was, I think, 2.5 hours last week, and it was another hour tonight. It was very thorough. I hope people felt like they were being heard. I was trying to allow everyone to speak when they wanted and to ask questions and provide some changes that they saw were necessary. I do have to say, another thing that we added tonight was to place external staircases in the rear side of the building and make sure that they're not on the front, just to clean up that language. So I think that's it. I'm really happy with the way things went, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. As you might know, I'm very passionate. I'm very involved in this issue. I think this one I created so many comments, not only in our local city, but outside our local city. It's been having a lot of attention everywhere. Even for this issue, I think that we, a democracy, have been touched. I don't know if the history of city of Salem has happened before, but we have taken away the right to defend our people. I, myself, was elected to represent everyone's interest. I feel that if I don't fulfill that capacity, there's no need for me to be sitting down in any of these chairs that I respect and I value a lot. However, I think that the way this issue is being handled do not really reflect a good government. I think that lack of transparency has been in there. We've seen this bring it up three times. And I keep saying, and this is going to be my last intervention in this, because I know it's going to pass. It already been made up for that, because this is basically the system already established. The supermajority is no longer in there. It's no matter what way I vote, it's going to be passed. And so, but I wanted to bring to the attention, not only to us, but for the general public. I feel that this issue is such important. This is a so good for the for the residents of the city of Salem. Why can't we put this on the ballot and let people decide? Let's all wait for the people decision, and then I myself, I would accept any decision that the people of Salem decided. The same way they elect us, the same way we have other issues put on the ballot. Let's do this one. I challenge everyone to accept this. This is a motion that I formally do. Put it on the ballot, and let's wait and let's see. The reason why I say this is because I'm going to be very clear. I've seen so much manipulation on the way we handle the issue, when sometimes we want to see one side to win. And I don't think that's permissible, and I don't think that's why we was elected for. Let's play simple and clear. Let's put it on the hand of the people, and let's see what they're saying. I'm a councilor at large, and I'm every day in contact with so many people who are not in favor of this ordinance, because that will rule the character of the city. We have a city that was made up to allow people to live in there, to make sure that we have the quality of life, to embrace anyone that comes, but we want a real solution to the situation. We've seen so many attempts, and this is a tool in the toolbox. I understand that, but this tool is not really meant to help the most needed one. Not yet. So my proposal again is that we put this in the ballot. As the way it is right now, I cannot support it. I understand that maybe we had the vote, the body might go in that regard, but I have to represent the people that elect me. Thank you.
Councilor Dominguez, you made a motion to place the question on the ballot. I don't believe that's
I'll second it.
power of the city council. Madam City Clerk, could you verify that? Are you there?
Okay.
He's doing that now. I believe that it can be, I just want to read a second, please, if you can give me a moment. I'm looking that up now. Can you give me a moment?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Madam President, to be clear on this, I just want to make sure with the one we vote on, we put the council order number, I believe it's number 68, onto that, just so we're all in line with the council order.
Councilor Marcelo, could you clarify?
It's Order 68, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. In 2019, the ADU ordinance, the proposal was fairly straightforward, and it got shot down. In 2020, last year, it was very, very similar, if not identical. And it was about to get shot down, but it never came to a vote. Now, in 2021, we have different rules established by the state. So the threshold is different. So I believe there are the votes on the city council to pass it this time. But it's not the same document. It's not even close to the same document. There have been substantial number of changes, some minor, as the good Ward 3 councilor pointed out. But there's also been quite a few major changes to this. And I'm very glad to hear that we're not going forward with the other option that allows a brand new house to be built in somebody's backyard, making two houses on the same property all over the whole city. That's just way too much. I am a huge proponent of affordable housing. We need more senior housing. We need more truly affordable housing. But we need to be careful on this. With all the changes that were just taking place to this, I'm not exactly sure what we're voting on. And through you, Madam President, I'd like to apologize to the good Ward 3 counselor who chaired the committee. My internet and I guess several in my neighborhood zoned out. So I was discussing several recommended changes tonight at the committee meeting before this meeting. And at some point, I'm not sure how much of you heard of my recommended changes, but at some point I lost internet connection totally and I couldn't get back in. So I jumped in the car, I drove down to City Hall, and here I sit right now. And I could not get back into that meeting because the meeting had already ended by the time I made my way here through traffic, not speeding the whole way, mind you. But a couple concerns. Steve Kapanis, a Salem resident, pointed out that these units aren't affordable there's no teeth to it, that there's no wording in this to get the units into people that most need them. It's not worded the right way. The short-term rentals I'm concerned about, and Madam President, these are concerns that I was raising tonight at the earlier meeting, and I'm not sure how much of this was heard by the committee, but so I'm just going to recap it real fast. The short-term rentals are not allowed in the ADU, but if you're going to be allowed to build another unit, you shouldn't be allowed to move into that unit and make your primary unit an ADU, also disrupting the neighborhood. So neither of the two units should be allowed to be the ADU. I don't think the ordinance speaks to that. That's a minor change, but we should add it to strengthen and protect our neighborhoods. The exterior staircase, the Ward 3 counselor just talked about that. That's something that I had worked out with the city planner and the zoning enforcement officer as a way of protecting the neighborhood and not having additional doors and not having the staircase come down, exterior staircase out in front of the house, just to protect the look of the houses, look at the neighborhood. So I'm glad to hear the Ward 3 counselor, I think she just said that was put back in. So it was put in 2019, stayed in for 2020, and then taken out by the planning board, but I think I heard it went back in. So that's a good thing, so I thank you. That's the one comment that I started with at tonight's meeting that was brought forward. So the ADUs, it should not be on either side. That's a change that we can make over the next 2 weeks if the council agrees with that. The doors and the staircase, I want to make sure that that's in there. I think it's in there. There's a couple other major issues that we should discuss as well. The one is a recent change, and I'm not sure how the committee handled this one because I got bumped out of the meeting. But the major change is on the condominiums, allowing every condominium on a property up to 5 units, I would believe, could add another ADU. So it's very, very unlikely that there's a 5 condo building, 5 condo home that can add 5 more units. So but it would be allowed in this ordinance. So if there is one out there that has 5 condos or 4 condos, they could double the size of it and become 10 units. And the 4 unit could become 8 units. But there are huge number of 2-family and 3 families that are condomized right now, that are condominiums on each floor. I think the good at-large counselor asked a good question early in the week. It was hypothetical, but about a 2-family that may be in this neighborhood that is condominiums. And could the second floor put an ADU in the attic? Even though this house is in a single-family zone, it's a 2-family condo building. So could the top floor add an ADU in the attic, should they so choose, and the first floor add one in the basement, or build an addition out back? And the answer to that question was yes. So it could go, even though it's a single-family neighborhood, it's a 2-family condo building, it could then go to 4 units. So I object to having a 5-unit condo building, one building being allowed to double in size and go to 10 units. I think we should go back to the way it was in 2019 and 2020 and simply approve the 180 unit per property. So we're truly not overcrowding the city or overcrowding individual properties. I'm wondering if you can entertain me, and I apologize, Madam President, to the Ward 3 counselor that I got shut out of the meeting earlier and could not jump back fast enough. So I'm sorry that I could not bring all these up, but I really don't know how much of all this the committee heard, because when I looked at the screen, almost like right now, thank you, Councilor McCarthy, for moving. I thought I was frozen out again just now. I'm not sure how much the committee heard of this and if they addressed that, Madam President. So I'll be quiet now. I have some reservations on this, but we could possibly make some of these minor changes or one major change to this over the next 2 weeks before we meet on this again. But if the Ward 3 counselor, through you, Madam Chair, can simply give an update as to what we missed and if all these concerns were heard and perhaps they were addressed. Thank you.
Councilor, I'm not entertaining any kind of back and forth discussion that should have been done in committee. I'll take a further discussion from anyone else.
Sorry.
Madam City Clerk.
Is there anybody else?
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to respond that the short-term rental is a separate order. So you have not missed any chance to modify anything regarding to short-term rentals with ADUs. That will be taken up later. And I didn't realize that you had internet issues, but we also had a meeting last week that was 2.5 hours long. And you were not at that meeting, and we tried to have a very thorough conversation. And I understand everybody can't make every meeting, but I also was a little taken aback by public comment that said that it wasn't transparent. At last week's meeting, 2.5 hours, I allowed several times for public comment. The first of which was to decide which of these ordinances to go forward with. We've spent a lot of time discussing all of these things, and I have given every opportunity to make modifications to this ordinance. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll say I don't consider the original ADU ordinance to have been perfect. I don't consider this one to be perfect. But this is a case where I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for a ordinance that is fairly straightforward and allows what will in reality be a relatively small number of homeowners to take advantage of a program that lets them, instead of selling homes to big developers who tear them down and build condos, or people being driven out of Salem because of costs or because it's just they have too much house. It allows people to basically sublet part of their house and get income from it, or live in a smaller space if they so choose. And it's, I have discussed this. I hear arguments on one hand that says this won't help anybody, so why should we pass it? Nobody's going to build an ADU. And then I hear other arguments saying, well, this is going to turn every single family lot into a 2-family lot, and we're going to have houses everywhere, and people are going to be building houses in their backyards. And, that's not true either. What's going to happen as a result of this is we're going to have some existing apartments that have been illegal for a generation. They will come forward and be legalized as a result of this. We will have ones where they're currently charging more rent than would be allowed by this. They're probably going to stay under the radar and stay illegal. So we're going to get some of these legalized so we can keep track of them, so we can inspect them, so we can make sure that they're safe, and that's going to be a positive. We're going to have some families who otherwise might have to might wind up having to sell their homes and move out of town be able to make some changes and invest a small amount of money, relatively speaking, and be able to stay in their house and be able to get some income from their home. We have protections attached to this to prevent short-term rentals or prevent ADUs from being used as short-term rentals. We have protections in here to make sure that these are owner-occupied properties so that these don't become investment two-family properties. Well, there's a lot of stuff in here that is good and does help us provide homes for people. And we can't solve every problem with ADUs. And we've spent so much time and attention on this over the last several years that it feels like people have that weight of expectation on it. ADUs are going to help maybe a couple of dozen people a year, or a couple of dozen properties a year may be able to take advantage of this. It will result in more ADUs that are built for the original reason that they were approved, because now if you build one to take care of a family member or a caregiver, you don't have to decommission it as soon as that use is no longer needed. You can take it and in turn it into a rental property within your house. So you have some options that you didn't have previously under the original version of the ordinance, which I was really glad to support. So this is a case where we just need to bite the bullet, move forward, get this going, finally. And if we do need to make adjustments to it down the road, we can go through this process again. I won't be here next year. Many of us won't, several of us won't be here next year, but there will be a new council seated and they will be able to take action if it is so needed. And I think that's something that we all need to be aware of. This is not the final step. This is not the final step in ADUs because we've already done this once before. So it's a start. It will help some people. It will not have the massive impacts that people who are for it think it'll have. It won't have the massive impacts that people who are against it think it'll have. But it will help some people. It will help some families and some homeowners. And it will help provide some places to live that are a little lower cost and therefore more desirable for people who are working at jobs that don't pay as well. So it's a positive. It's not perfect, but it is a positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to echo the Ward 5 councilors' comments. I think it's important to point out that if you're upset with luxury condos, upset with 5/1 construction that we're seeing more frequently throughout Salem, if you're upset with new construction that you don't feel fits the character of Salem, which I think that a lot of us feel that way, and I think that a lot of people throughout the community feel that way, this is an inch back. It's just an inch, but it's an inch back in the other direction. It's towards bottom-up development, ground-up development, allowing Salem homeowners to be the ones that are creating the new units throughout Salem, and it's not going to be that much. I think we talked about it in the OLA meeting. Portland, Oregon is the best example of successful ADUs in this country, and it's 2.4% of their housing stock. If we got anywhere close to 2% or even 1%, we'd be doing incredibly here with ADUs. We probably won't. This is more restrictive than that one is. We'll create a few, but I think that philosophically, for me, this is the opposite of what a lot of us complain about with new construction and new development in Salem. This is something completely different. I think it's important just to look at it that way. I hope we're going to pass this tonight, and I hope we can move on to other things that are more impactful in the future.
Councillor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. You and I may disagree on this, and I thank you for calling me for a second time on this. Last night, I attended a Zoning Board of Appeals meeting that went on till about 2 minutes of midnight. One of the longest meetings. It's just amazing. I think the meeting started at 6:30. At that meeting, there were several North Salem proposals that were being reviewed. One of them on Orchard, actually a couple on Orchard Street, but one of them early on talked about building 12 condominiums in 3 different buildings on Orchard Street. And we heard from quite a few Orchard Street neighbors and that whole neighborhood that were opposed to the overcrowding, in their words, on this project. And there was a dense development up close to the property lines. We heard a bunch of different things. So that was 12 units total, 4 units per building, 3 buildings. Under this ordinance, that condo complex could increase to 24 units because each condominium could create an ADU. And it could be built that way from the get-go. So if the neighbors there were complaining about 12 units overcrowding their small neighborhood, small houses, how do you think they would feel with 24 units, double the amount of units they were complaining about? I think, again, that this ordinance, we need to go back to the original wording of the ordinance and not play games with cramming in so many units, making a 2-family into 4 families, a 3-family into you know, on and on. It could be a larger development that might have, you know, some of our larger condo complexes that could really add so many more units into one area. But this one on Orchard Street, Madam President, was a tiny little area, and it, by the design, 4 units per building, they could double and have 24 units. Every condominium could have an ADU. I don't think that's the type of development that this was intended to do, but I think developers will take advantage of this and overcrowd certain neighborhoods across the city. This really needs to be 1 ADU per property and not allowing dozens and dozens of more units to be crammed onto a property. On this one property, on Orchard, it was only 12 more units. Madam President, I move that we strike that section out of this ordinance and we revert back to 1 ADU per property.
Mr. Dibble moves to strike section. Can you clarify?
I don't have the exact section in front of me, Madam President, but it's really straightforward what I'm asking for. I think we all know it. We've been discussing this for 3 years now. But this one, we've only been discussing for a couple of weeks. It was kind of snuck in there or just added at the last minute, very, very recently, that we changed from 1 ADU per property throughout the whole city. Now it can be significantly more. Last night's at the ZBA, it could be 12 additional ADUs on one property.
I understood the intent. I was trying to.
My motion was, Madam President, Madam President, was simply to change the wording back and just cite that we can only have 1 ADU per property. And we can adjust the ordinance any which way we have to. The city solicitor can easily do that. The city planner can easily do that. That's really straightforward, Madam President.
Councilor Dibble moves to strike whatever section this refers to allow 1 unit per property. Is there a second? Seeing none.
A second for discussion.
Seconded by Councilor Sargent. Under discussion. Councilor Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. That was a really long ZBA meeting last night. And as a resident of Orchard Street, I feel like I need to definitely comment. My first comment here is we need to be careful with the words that we use and how we are describing this to the public. 12 units would not qualify under this ADU ordinance as far as my understanding. It's a limit of 5 or 4 or more units. So I can't see a 12 unit property then turning into 24 units because there is a limit there. We do have, I think it's either 4 or 5. So we do have that in there. So that I think is just throwing out extremely inaccurate facts. I mean, other than the fact that that development wasn't on Orchard Street, it was on Franklin Street. So that's just part, after I'm kind of having deja vu to about a year ago. So after having this conversation and after having many OLA meetings and committee meeting or council meetings about this topic, I feel like we should all have a good understanding of where we stand and what the issues are and how we feel. And we need to be careful with what we're saying in regards to that and make sure that we truly understand. And if we don't, we should be going to the committee meetings and reading these, but throwing out things that we're going to change the character of the neighborhoods or can turn a 12 unit building into a 24 unit building. That just, I feel like I have to call that out because that's just very, I don't think that that's fair. It's not putting a direct or a correct light on this subject. And we should really strive to not cause fear in that regard. Thanks.
Madam President, could I just explain to
Hang on one sec.
Yeah.
I think Councilor Dominguez had his hand up first. Councilor Dominguez.
clear that?
Thank you, Madam President. And I'm aware this is my second turn on this matter. I learned not to ask for any more because this is the system that is in place, which I not agree with, but this is part of what we have agreed and everybody had to comply with. But I feel that we need to ask some question to us, and I want to ask the question. The question I want to ask is that the city clerk, did she find my motion that is on the table that I proposed to put it on the ballot? I need to find out on that. Secondly, I want to ask, I don't know who I can ask, but if this is so good for the benefit of the city of Salem, why are we selling this tool as an affordable tool that's going to take care of some of the need that we had in here? That's one. Secondly, if this is so good, why we had to change the rule and affect such important traditional and historically way of government in Salem by having the supermajority take it away, in creating frustration? Because I think that this is one of the tools that I thought we had that guarantee that we'll have some democracy on when we agree and disagree. Secondly, why the importance of the issue had to come in a very dangerous time where we have a pandemic, where we cannot have full capacity on the public to really express what they want to have. We understand that the technology is helping a lot, but we have a majority of people who cannot deal with the internet. Maybe the people that we saying that we defending, maybe the senior, we defending the senior, we're saying that we wanted to create something for them, but there are that's the community that cannot be technologically involved in this type of issue that pertain to them in a big way. One. The other one is why, if we're saying we're protecting the most vulnerable one, people who live in every day, and I agree this need have a human face, but when we deeply go, that human face is only a talking point because it doesn't really create any help for those people that need it. I'm tired to hear, and I'm tired to see how politicians, and I don't have nothing personal to anyone, politicians and developers, people with power, use people need to advance their agenda. And when we have a government that can protect those people, those powerful machines break the rule and change the rule in their own benefit. I feel that this order right here, this order, create a lot of burden on everybody. Quite honest, when I saw that, when I saw the intervention of the state, our government, our governor, and abolish something that is for the need of the people, I entirely say there's no need for me to be a part of the city government, because what hope do we have? We have no hope. We have to defending our people. How we will defend it when the tools is taken away? So that's why I say the best way to have this issue a little bit in consensus is to put it on the ballot. Let's people decide what do they want. Do you really want an ADU in your neighborhood? Do you really want it? This is the time for you the general public, to vote or not to vote. And we, as a body, have to accept the will of the people. I don't think that the will of the people is being clearly here in this matter, and I don't think that the intention to pass this order is really transparent. So once again, and I had to repeat myself, this might cost me an election. At the end of the day, I feel that the job of representing people, we need to do it no matter what. And the price I'm willing to pay. But I had to say that we had to go back to normal government and allow people to express themselves. and create orders that benefit and help them, not orders that benefit one group, a hiring group that is working under the radar to make happen, not really helping people to be educated on the issue, and they make the decision based on what they know. This issue historically, not only in Salem but in everywhere, is creating gentrification everywhere. And we, if we are not aware of that, we need to be aware. We need to open our eyes, and we need to govern for the people. We was elected to represent the people, not to represent a group of people. We need to make sure that we make that clear, and that I'm committed to do that. And I thank and I yield. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor. Madam City Clerk and myself have been looking through the charter in regards to your question, so we did not forget your question. I believe, Madam City Clerk, are you there?
She said 1 more minute. She's just figuring it out.
Okay. So I think initial reading of the charter is that the section 43 may allow the city council, it says city council may submit questions to voters. I don't believe this applies to zoning, because zoning amendments are done through Chapter 40A of the State of Mass General Law, and Madam City Clerk may have more opinions on that.
Well, just, so thank you for the, your indulgence of taking time to look that up quickly. Because I've, trying to look into the ballot questions. Although our charter says measurements, it didn't include or exclude zoning, but trying to look at the Mass General Law of zoning, Chapter 40, because of the way, as you started to say, Councilor Maduro, zoning is enacted with the procedure that we have to go through by law. With the, it can be referred into us by a person or by the council or by a petitioner, but it does have to go back to the planning board for their recommendation and go through that hearing process that we had to get to this measure. Therefore, it would supersede, it would like kind of avoid doing that process like a backdoor into that. So as of right now, I can do some more research tomorrow, but I do not believe zoning itself as an ordinance. Ordinances can be, but not zoning is excluded from the ballot question. I did a quick phone call also with the city solicitor and assistant. So that's also took a little time. They're researching it a little bit more, but that is what we come up with at this time on exactly specifically to zoning, that the way that it has to be enacted to go through the planning board and public hearings and advertisements, that it can't be put on a ballot.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Councilor Dominguez, does that answer your question? Briefly?
It does in a way. I think that we need to hear the finding on the research. Now, like I say, we have to, assess whatever finding we had that is legal. Hopefully, we can add it to the ballot, and we can put it on the ballot so people can vote on it. And I have to wait. How can we proceed with this? Because I think tonight we had to vote on this. How can we wait for the final finding on this research?
Councilor Dominguez, Madam City Clerk has stated her opinion that the city charter does not allow zoning amendments through a ballot question initiative. So
I hear that very clear.
Solicitor.
I understand that, but she also said that it's included or excluded. She also said that the city solicitor assistant is looking for more deeply, and she also said that there are some researches made up. So I would like to have the bottom line on this before we have a complete, total answer of this. I think that it's still in process.
Yes, a motion can't be made if there's no answer. Councilor Sargent.
Well, thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to, through you, put it out there that if there are a group of 12 condominiums, from what I understood from our past meetings and explanations was that each individual condo could apply to have an ADU, not just one in the condo unit. So it could possibly be that if you have 12 condos, each one could have an ADU, the way I read it. So that's not so far-fetched. You know, I don't see all 12 doing it, but it is possible, because just to allow one would be taking away the rights of the other 11. So condominiums aren't a 12-unit building or a 12-unit development. They're 12 individual condominiums. So that's why, the way I see it, they could each have an ADU. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I believe the ordinance does not allow ADUs for properties that have more than 5 units.
That's a 5-unit building. A condo is a 1-unit building. It is considered 1 unit with an individual deed. So that's the way I thought we discussed it in committee. So, and the way it reads.
Thank you. Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you. So a building with multiple units, regardless of whether they're condo or owned, however, is one thing. The change that was made was to allow multiple physical properties occupying the same area of property. So standalone buildings on there, just as an example, we have on down at the end of my block that I live on, there's a condo development with a number of townhouses that are all condominium, and they are occupying the same physical property. So they own their building, their townhouse, and they own a share of the common area. So under that, those residents would be able to create ADUs if they so chose, with the change that was made to allow that. That doesn't allow larger buildings or complexes or anything of the sort, but it's a simple change to multiple individual standalone buildings that are still on one single property lot in the condo arrangement. It doesn't allow for larger buildings to add multiple units. And in fact, in those cases, it's pretty unlikely that any of them would be adding ADUs, simply because the cases where we have a building with multiple units within that physical building, those are buildings that are already, those are our triple deckers. Those are apartment buildings. Those are the ones you're not going to be carving out an ADU within those smaller spaces to begin with. It's pretty unlikely. The far more likely thing would be building one in a basement of a single family, or building onto a portion of the first floor or something like that, or converting an attic. Those are the uses that we see in the real world. We don't see people taking their 10-unit apartment buildings and turning them into 20-unit apartment buildings. That just doesn't happen. So, and one of the things that people on this city council like to complain about is, big bad developers and how horrible they are and how they're destroying the city. And this is something that doesn't empower those developers. This is something that empowers homeowners, individual property owners. If there's anybody that it takes some power away from, it takes power away from big developers. It takes power away from big landlords and people who own a lot of units. This doesn't give them anything. This lets them potentially add a single ADU in the property that they themselves own and live in. It has to be owner occupied. There's a lot of things there to safeguard it that make it also fairly unlikely that most people are going to build them. And so we've spent a lot of time and treasure and energy and emotion on something that really it's going to be a positive for the people who can do it. It's going to allow maybe 5, 10, maybe 15 units a year get built this way. And they're units that are going to be by law available at a lower price. They're units that by law are going to be smaller. They're going to be commingled. The owners have to be resident in either the main property or in the ADU that's created. And if they leave, if they don't want to live there anymore, it has to be discontinued. If a new owner buys it, they can't buy that as an investment property. They have to live there. So there's a lot of things in this to prevent it from becoming a plague upon all our homes. And I wish we would tone down the rhetoric that makes this sound like the apocalypse of Salem. It's just not. Could there be an ADU added in a single family that somebody has an issue with? Sure, that could happen. There's a lot of places with ADUs in them right now that just aren't legal, but they've existed for years, and they're all over in every neighborhood, everywhere in the city. There's people living in attics, there's people living in basements, and none of those are registered, and most of them aren't, a lot of them aren't safe. And we had a pretty bad fire in one of those just down the street from me a couple of years ago. And, you know, I look forward to hopefully seeing this finally pass and getting a framework that we can move forward with. Thank you. I'm all set.
We have a motion on the floor to strike a section in the proposed ordinance amendment to allow only one ADU per property by Councilor Dibble, seconded by Councilor Sargent. No further discussion on that. We'll take a roll call. Madam City Clerk.
Councilor Torio,
No.
Councilor Sargent,
Yes.
Councilor Riccardi,
No.
Councilor Presnewski,
No.
Councilor Morcillo,
No.
Councilor McCarthy,
No.
Councilor Hapworth,
No.
Councilor Flynn,
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez,
Yes.
Councilor Dibble,
Yes.
and Councilor Madore.
No. On the motion to strike section in the ADU ordinance to allow one ADU unit per property, we have 11 councilors voting, 7 in the negative, 4 in affirmative. The motion does not carry. On adoption of the recommendation,
Madam President,
Councilor Sargent.
we're doing the final vote now, right?
We are,
No, this is not an amendment, right?
it's not an amendment.
No, I just wanted to speak briefly if I could, because I just feel it's important that people know some of our numbers with affordable housing and rental housing, because I think there's a good amount of people that feel that we don't have that much affordable housing in Salem. And I've always thought through our history, we've done a good job of providing affordable housing. And, you know, we're really one of the best cities and towns in Massachusetts at doing that. I mean, we've got about 50% rental units, 12% affordable housing. We're 15th best out of 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. I mean, that means we're doing a better job than 336 other cities and towns. And we can always do better. But the numbers tell us that we're one of the best cities in the state at providing affordable housing. That our past city planners and past leaders have done a pretty good job on this issue. And I don't think everybody understands how our numbers are. We also provide housing in our city for our own residents, of course, for people who want to move into Salem, and that's fine too. For people from surrounding cities and towns that would like to live in their own city and town, but they only have about 2% affordable housing in their town and very little rental housing. And we also provide housing for Salem State University students. A lot of the regional burden for providing affordable housing has been put on cities like Salem, Beverly, Peabody, and Lynn. And we're always willing to help. That's the way it is in Salem. But we're doing a lot of building here. But I'm sure we just can't accommodate every person who would like to live in Salem. I just don't think that's a tenable position. You know, I favor the existing accessory dwelling ordinance. I think it was well written. Council Milo brought it in. The council worked hard on it, the planning board, and I think it really does help families help each other. Many people who ask us to support this ask us to support it so that so they can help a family member. And I think there's some people don't understand that we already have an ordinance in place that does allow families to help each other. And I like that ordinance. I support it. And I'd like to have that one remain in place. Thank you.
Thank you. On adoption of the recommendation. Other discussion? More discussion? I know that Councilor Presnewski has not spoken yet, so I will recognize him.
Quickly, Madam President, thank you. We've been going back and forth for quite a while on this, and the committees and the council have put a lot of thought into drafting something that took a lot of work to try to appease everybody. And it just seems that we're going around in circles the way everything is going tonight, which I don't believe it should be. I think we should be moving forward on this, given all the work and all the years and months that has been put into this. You know, is ADUs going to are they going to solve the housing crisis? No, they're not going to solve that. I think Council Turiel hit the nail on the head on several issues. Affordable housing. Well, is it affordable? Is $1,350 a month for a small apartment affordable? It's not ridiculous, but I think that's up to each individual person. I know there are people on this council that rent their apartments for a lot less than that, and do so out of the goodness of their hearts, to keep the housing prices down, apartments down. The big thing is, who is this going to help out? How is this ordinance going to help people? Well, I'm looking at it from the people who are living by themselves in maybe a big home, an elderly person who doesn't have a family to have an ADU, but maybe they're, because they don't have a family and they've been living in their house for generations now, on a pension that's low. They want to be able to supplement their income for that house and be able to stay in that house that they've stayed for generations, instead of having to move out because they just can't afford to be there anymore. It's for the the young people trying to find jobs in Salem and find some kind of affordable small housing. Let them get on their feet and establish themselves, and maybe buy a house later on down the road. It just seems to make a lot of sense that homeowners and property owners should be able to have the option of doing what they want to do to be able to stay on their property. We're not going to be overrun by ADUs. Again, Councilor Turiel, I agree with him that what are we going to have, a dozen or so applications? There's a lot of them out there now that are hidden from public view because they're out there and they're just not registered, and we're not keeping control of them. Something that we should be doing. It's going to increase the tax base to the city a little bit. Is it going to make that much of a difference? I don't think so. But the individual people who are looking to stay in Salem and the individual people who are looking to find something affordable, I think we have to take a look at each person's individually and have our hearts out to those people. And so for those reasons, I'm going to be voting for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. Well said, Councilor. This ordinance is basically about giving homeowners, let's be specific, homeowners, people who own their homes and want to continue to live in their homes, more options. That's it. It's about giving them options. No one's saying anyone has to put one in. You don't have to if you don't want to. But if you want to or you want to consider it, it's giving you an option. And it's all about giving homeowners options. It's not about creating fear around what may or may not happen, because fear is always easy. It's easy to always side with fear and say, "Oh, it's going to ruin this, going to do that." No, why don't you look at the positive? The couple who's been living in the neighborhood for a generation, whose family has moved on and moved someplace else, but wants to stay in the neighborhood because that's where they feel comfortable, and has a big house because they raised a big family and has the space, wants to take take in somebody and carve them out a little niche in their home and allows them to stay in the neighborhood where they raised the family they grew up and they feel comfortable. It's just about giving people and families and people, specifically homeowners, options. It's not about giving developers options. It's not about giving absentee landlords options. It's about giving homeowners options. And the example about condos, I would just caution you, condos usually have condo docs. Most condo docs actually specifically say in them that they're not allowed to sublet and they're not allowed to have Airbnbs, or they're not allowed to do whatever. So I'd be anyone who's setting up and who wants to use condos as a fear of these things. Most condo docs wouldn't allow it. And when you look at condos, when you look at the way the rules and the regulations are written around what we're proposing, ADUs have to be of a certain minimum size, and they cannot exceed 50% of a condo. And I want to say off the top of my head, I don't have the ordinance in front of me. I want to say it's 300 square feet or 350 square feet. And that would mean that someone would have to have approximately an 800 square foot condo that they're willing to take half that condo, divide it up to create an ADU and leave themselves 400 square feet and then give away 350 square feet to someone else. Potentially, could it happen? Yeah. Is it practical? No. You're talking about huge condos over probably, 1,200 square foot condo. And I don't think there's a lot of 1,200 square foot condos that actually exist in the city of Salem. And if you're going to carve it up and create a smaller unit of a minimum size of 350 square feet, I just think it's, you could always try to create the fearful example, but in practicality, they don't exist. And when you break it down to its basics, it's about giving homeowners options. And you have to trust the homeowner, the person who lives in their neighborhood, who wants to enhance their situation and continue to live in a neighborhood that they love and are not going to be a detriment and not going to create a detriment in that neighborhood. So I'll be supportive for the simple fact that it's about giving homeowners options. Thank you.
Thank you. On adoption of recommendation for first passage. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Satorio,
Yes.
Council Sergeant,
No.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Presnewski,
Yes.
Council Marcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
No.
Council Dominguez,
No.
Council Dibble,
No.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On the adoption of the zoning ordinance amendment relative to ADUs with no new detached dwelling, we have 11 councilors voting, 7 affirmative, 4 in the negative. The matter carries. First committee reports. Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and City Council, April 22nd, 2021. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of zoning ordinance amendment relative to ADUs without attached dwelling. Let me see. Has considered said matter and would recommend that the matter stay in committee.
On acceptance of the report. All those in favor? See 11 hands. Those opposed? Seeing none, the matter carries. On adoption of the recommendation, Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. So this is the other order. This is number 97. This is the one that would have allowed new detached structures for an ADU. And we decided not to move forward with this, so we're just going to keep it in committee for now.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll on adoption of the recommendation.
It's in committee, right?
It was just to remain in committee. Did you want a roll call vote on that?
On adoption recommendation to keep the matter in committee, all those in favor? I see 10 hands. 11 hands, thank you. McCarthy. All opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Can we take a 1-minute recess? Councilor McCarthy.
I move for a 1-minute recess.
Councilor McCarthy moves for a 1-minute recess. So moved. All's in favor? No hands, great. All opposed? We are in recess. City Council is back in session. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to go back in order, back to motions, orders, resolutions for a late file.
Councilor McCarthy moves to go out of order to bring a late file under motions, orders, and resolutions. Seeing no objection, Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. City Council, April 22nd, 2021, ordered that the Department of Planning and Community Development report back to the City Council 18 months after the adoption of the Affordable Accessory Dwelling Unit Ordinance. The report back to the City Council shall consist of a list of affordable accessory dwelling units permitted and a summary of parking impacts, if any. And that's it. Thank you, Madam President.
And all's in favor of moving this to committee? I'm sorry, what was it? Motion?
It was just an order for that the planning department reports back to the city council in 18 months relative to how many units were created and what, if any, impacts, parking or otherwise, were created because of them.
All those in favor? 11 hands. All opposed, saying none, the matter carries.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we return to the regular portion of the meeting.
McCarthy moves that we return to regular order of agenda on page 25, communications from city officials, none. Petitions.
We have a petition from Comcast to install a conduit on First Street.
Hearing ordered on May 13, 2021. Further petitions.
We have a petition from Caleb Page Best to open a new business for a pedicab for 21 plus for sightseeing and consumption of alcohol.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Marcillo moves that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? The 11 hands. All those opposed, saying none, the matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a list of public guides and taxi operators.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that these be granted.
Councilor Marcillo moves that these be granted. All those in favor? See 11 hands. All those opposed, seeing none. The licenses are granted. Further petitions.
We have 3 claims.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Marcillo moves that these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? See 11 hands. All those opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Unfinished business.
Second passage of an ordinance amending traffic.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption for second passage by roll call vote.
Councilor Marcillo moves for adoption for second passage by roll call vote. Under discussion.
No discussion.
No discussion. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Torrio?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Riccardi?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez?
Yes.
Councilor Dibble?
Yes.
And Councilor Madore?
Yes. On amending the ordinance relative to vehicles for hire for second and final passage, we have 11 councilors voting. From affirmative, none in the negative, the matter carries. Anything else? Counselor Sargent.
I think I'll move for adjournment.
Counselor Sargent moves for adjournment. All those in favor? Of 11 hands. Those opposed? We are adjourned. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.